welcome to NXTGEN Racing, the home of clean and fair sim racing for all. Hello, good evening and welcome ladies and gentlemen to another year and with it another season of the NXTGEN Racing Touring Car Championship, and of course known more commonly as the NXTCC, the Premier Touring Car Championship, available only on the Premier Sim Racing platform, available on PC, known as iRacing. And we're here today to kick off Season 9 of the Championship, powered by a title sponsor, Doble Motorcycles. That's right ladies and gentlemen, we are back once again for another season of Touring Car racing action in the Touring Car series that continues to ask the question, who is the king or queen of the Touring Car racing class machine? And in tribute to what is the British Touring Car Championship from which we derive this series, well, this is a season which is paying a major homage to the series which got us going, and indeed the inspiration for, I think, for many, whether it's our drivers or to you guys and girls at home tuning in as viewers, the series that's got us all interested in front engine, front wheel drive racing action week in, week out. But as we welcome you to this broadcast today, well, we're here for round number 1 of 10 at the Donington Park National Racing Circuit in the United Kingdom. And well, what a circuit it is. Short in its nature, only 1.95 miles in length and consisting of the best part of 10 corners. Well, it is a circuit which is all about fast flowing momentum. In order to do well here, you've got to make sure to absolutely nail your apexes from corner to corner, because get one corner wrong and you may find you lose all your momentum in the run for the next set of corners, and you're incredibly vulnerable not just to the driver immediately behind you, but perhaps the whole pack will be encroaching fast behind, and that means the battle in action never is too far away as you go hunting around the grounds here in the Leicestershire County Circuit. But as we welcome you all to this broadcast live from circuit side, this is the live broadcast for one of 2 lobbies this season. That's right ladies and gentlemen, with the popularity growing of the NXTCC season after season, year after year, and by the end of this season we'll be celebrating 3 years of the NXTCC. For the first time in its history, we have got 2 lobbies running in parallel. We're here covering what is the orange lobby, I should say, which will be full of fan favourite drivers and also some new faces to boot, and carrying on the theme from Season 8. We've also got going on in parallel what is the blue lobby, and the broadcast of that will be brought to you as if it were live. In fact, it will be a live broadcast, but it is rerun, I should say, and that will be as of tomorrow evening on Wednesday the 30th of April 2025, and brought to you in the capable hands of Alex Everett. But here live tonight on Tuesday the 29th of April 2025, all your racing action is going to be brought to you by myself in the commentary booth, because I'm back once again ladies and gentlemen. My name's Paul Walsh, also known as TX141 or Britain a Spit, depending on what media you follow me on, and I will bring you all of your racing action as it unfolds. And speaking of racing action unfolding, times in British Summer Time tonight, that's BST, or Universal Coordinate Time +1, UTC +1, and as we can see in what will be the best part of just under 17 minutes time, we'll be making our way to the circuit for our qualifying session, the first of our 10 qualifying sessions this season. 15 minutes in duration, all the drives out of the circuit, and we're expecting up to the best part of 40 drivers on the grid in the orange lobby for this season, indeed the same in the blue lobby as well. And after that, once the grid has been set, we'll be going out racing for the first of 3 races, all of them 16 laps in duration, all of them equivalent of 20-minute sprint races, if you will, and race number 1 due to get underway at 8:15 this evening, after which we'll take a brief breather before returning for what is race number 2 at 9 o'clock this evening. And of course, we'll have race number 3 in a similar pattern at 9:45 this evening, but not without that all-important reverse grid draw. And there's plenty of rule changes going into this season, and we're going to bring you all those and all the news from circuit side as we get ready to kick the season off. And well, of course, you can be tuning into this broadcast via one of 3 media platforms for your viewing pleasure. You could be tuning in via YouTube at youtube.com and search for what is NXTGEN Racing, and that's one of 2 official NXTGEN Racing media platforms. And we do say hello to Andy Fox on the YouTube channel. Alternatively, you could be tuning in via the NXTGEN Racing Facebook group, and that's at facebook.com/groups/NXTGEN Racing. And welcome to you guys and girls tuning in via Facebook. But of course, if you are Twitch inclined, we also do have the unofficial broadcast available on twitch.tv/TX141, and welcome to you guys and girls tuning in via Twitch. But that's enough story set in terms of where the broadcast is available to you, and indeed the times for today. And let's talk a little bit more about the season that we've got lying in wait for us, and what a season it is. Because as we can see here, as mentioned already, we are paying homage once again to the British Touring Car Championship, and Season 1, if you remember, the best part of 2.5 years ago, was entirely focused on replicating the, what was at the time, the 2023 BTCC calendar. Well, we're doing that once again. We are following the BTCC calendar for 2025. However, what is in the first for the NXTCC, we are also mirroring the schedule so that our races run either on the week before or after the real life racing event occurs. And for those in the know, you'll know that only this weekend just gone, and that was of course over the weekend of the 26th and 27th of April, we did see the BTCC for 2025 raise its curtain and raise its flags to go racing at Donington Park National Circuit. And well, with it being the 29th of April this Tuesday, we are immediately bringing all the racing for round number 1 here. And then when we go into round number 2, it'll be the Brands Hatch Indy Circuit on the 6th of May, a week before the official event in the BTCC, and that's how we're going to try and stay all the way throughout the season, because in round number 3, we'll then make our way to the Snetterton 300 Circuit on the 20th of May. In round number 4, we'll head to the Thruxton Circuit on the 3rd of June, and on the 17th of June, to end the first half of the season, we make our way to the Alton Park Island Circuit, the ultimate classic circuit when it comes to touring car racing. And then we'll have our summer break, and on the basis that we will see Croft added to the iRacing simulation platform as of the 2025 Season 3 update, we will return for the second half of the season, and we'll make our debut round there on the 29th of July 2025 for round number 6 at the Croft Circuit, for then heading to Scotland for the Knockhill International Circuit on the 12th of August, after which it will then be a return to Donington Park, the Donington Park Circuit making the 2 appearances this season, when it's Grand Prix loud and making its way onto our calendar for round number 8 on the 26th of August, and on the 16th of September it'll be the Silverstone National Circuit for our penultimate round of racing, after which then we'll bring the curtain down the 30th of September, and where else can we bring it down other than the Brands Hatch Grand Prix Circuit, and that's where we'll bring all of the racing to a close. But indeed, it's an extended schedule over the entirety of this season, in the fact that whereas normally our races and rounds would be weekly, instead we are extending it all the way from the end of April, which is today, all the way through to the end of September. But that is, of course, in tribute to the BTCC. And what it means is, as well, there's going to be more breathing room between each round. It means our drivers will have plenty more time to practice ahead of each and every round, and that will make the competition only fiercer. There's no doubt about that. But coming on to our circuit for today, then, well, of course, the National out of the Donington Park Circuit, located near Castle Donington in the county of Leicestershire in England and the United Kingdom. Well, thank you to iRacing.com, not just for their brilliant simulator, but the fantastic track maps that are available. And, well, as we can see there, 10 corners, most of them enshrined into our hearts and names, not just in the United Kingdom, around the world. Whether it be the opening right-hander and the low-speed corner of Redgate, the run down through Hollywood and the Craner curves at turns 2 and 3 into the old hairpin at turn number 4, or would it be Starkey's Bridge up through 5 and in towards McLean's at turns 6 and 7, albeit via the Schwann's curve at turn number 6, and then we do have Coppice at turn number 8 there, the legendary double right apex hander, as they make the way on through and onto the back straight there to head in towards turns 9 and 10, and that will, of course, be the S's to complete lap and do it all over again. And at every corner, there's an overtaking opportunity available here, and that's why Donington Park's the best place to kick off a championship campaign, for the simple reason the baton will not be tighter than this if you want to get a good set of points on the score early doors. But coming into tonight, then, let's give you a recap of the rules before we go racing, because we can't go racing without them. And there's not too many rule changes at the top level, in the fact this is still a fixed setup series, and setups are provided to our drivers ahead of each and every round and race. Driver classes shall be finalised as the conclusion of round number 3, but we're not expecting too much change for our classes for this season, because the majority of our drivers here are returning drivers in the orange lobby. In terms of how we set the grid for this season, the race 1 grid shall be set based on the results of qualifying. That's a given. For race number 2, we'll keep the format whereby it'll be set based on the results of race number 1. So whoever wins race 1, they line up a pole for race number 2, and we work the order backwards from there. Meanwhile, the race 3 grid shall be a reverse grid based on results of race number 2, but the reversal position will be drawn live from the commentary booth from between 6th and 12th. That's right, we are returning to the old format, whereby we're only having a slight partial reverse grid. No longer will it be between what was P13 and P23, it will be between 6th and 12th, and that will be in alignment with the BTCC approach, and then with that, that's only going to make the fighting for positions further up the order in races 1 and 2 even more tight. That way, all our drivers will be very eager to make sure they're inside that top 12 to potentially benefit from a race 3 reverse grid draw. Each driver shall have one fast pair available in each race, and each race shall conclude after either the allotted lap amount, which will be 16 laps today, or that's approximately 20 minutes of racing, or 30 minutes, whichever expires first. But we do expect the laps to be covered unless we do see multiple safety cars and major incidents. Now, in terms of race stewarding, an independent race director is back watching the races for track limit infringements and the deployment of the safety car, and there will be penalties for track limit infringements as distributed as follows. Your first and second warnings as a driver, you get no penalty, they're just warnings. Get a third warning, it's a 5-second post-race time penalty. On your fourth warning, it's a 10-second post-race time penalty. And on the fifth warning, you've earned yourself a drive-through penalty that you must serve within 3 laps. Meanwhile, racing incidents shall be reviewed post-round, and our stewards for this season will be reviewing all incidents on the open lap, whether they're reported or not. There's going to be a much tighter set of stewarding verdicts when it comes to opening lap incidents from round to round and race to race. On top of this, success ballast, it returns once again, and it will be applied on a race-by-race basis overall in the Prime and AM classes. For qualifying in race 1, success ballast should be applied based on the championship standings prior to the round. And you know what that means? Well, it means for qualifying in race 1 today, nobody is running any ballast, and arguably it is the ultimate race which you want to win, whether it's in your class or overall, because you can prove yourself to be the fastest of the drivers out there before we do start to put the ballast in the cars and try to level the playing field. For race number 2, we shall see success ballast applied based on the finishing positions of race number 1, and we update the success ballast for race number 3 based on the finishing positions of race 2. Drivers new to the series in a given round shall run a newcomer success ballast of 16.6 kilograms for all 3 races, and this shall only be changed should the driver finish in a position whereby they become eligible for a heavier success ballast, and that's to avoid any potential newcomers getting an early head start on their rivals, particularly if they join only 1 or 2 rounds in. And we are going to be seeing that 16.6 kilograms applied to a number of drives, and we'll introduce those newcomers very shortly. On top of that as well, here's the table. It shows you the success ballast varies. There's no changes to how much ballast will go into the cars, and in terms of which positions will be rewarded with that success ballast. We're not going to go through all the numbers there. Feel free to pause the broadcast and take a screenshot of it if you do want it a reference hand available, but that is going to be the success ballast. And we do see the return of the rule, which is that if a Prime or AM driver finishes in a position whereby they would be entitled to a higher amount of success ballast for an overall finishing position versus what they get within their class finishing position, then they will run the higher ballast. And a number of Prime drivers, many of you will remember in Season 8, who end up running a much higher success ballast than their Pro-Am finishing position would dictate, and particularly those who finished right towards the front of the field had to experience the likes of what was that 56.1 kilograms for first place, if not the 48.2 kilograms for second place. But that's enough rules, regulation, everything between at least what we show you pictorially on screen. Let's head back to the circuit then, ladies and gentlemen, and start to introduce some drivers. And where do we start? Well, we start with the man who is a 4-time NXTCC overall drivers champion. He runs the number 1 on the car, and here he is, ladies and gentlemen, none other than Mikey Doble, your Jack Sears Independent Trophy champion for what was previous season of the BTCC as well, back in 2024. And, well, an absolutely brilliant job there from Mikey Doble out there to take the Jack Sears Trophy in 2024. And now looking to go upwards and onwards and chase after the Independent crown. He was part of the Independence team, I should clarify, who took the crown for PowerMax Racing in what was 2024. But this season he's going all in there, back with the team once again, and we're back on the grid with us here in the NXTCC. And, well, I can tell you one thing, ladies and gentlemen, with his hit rate of what is 50% of the championship titles, no team's championship ever achieved, but 4 drivers trophies out of 8. He is the most successful NXTCC driver out of all of them, and you can imagine he's going to be looking to go even higher today if he so can do so. But of course, that's going to be the challenge that confronts him there, and the fact there's going to be closer competition each and every way you look, and, well, that will be on his mind from start to finish in terms of trying to do his utmost in order to be on top of form. But as he comes into today, and indeed many of our drivers will feel eager to try and make a great first impression on what is their Season 9 Championship campaign, well, Mikey Doble is one of a number of returning names. We've also got the return of what is Doble Sim Racing team and family, including his younger brothers of Isaac Doble here, one of our youngest members on the grid, and the man who definitely took the fight to many over the course of the Season 8 campaign, and also I do believe running this year in real life racing, running in the Ford Fiesta Junior Saloons Championship. I may have got the naming wrong there, but I do believe racing as part of that BRSCC Championship, and we do wish Isaac all the best of luck in that. Or indeed, you also have to look to what is Joseph Doble, who right now making his way on around there, and he's racing as part of the BMW Nanking Compact Cup, and he's out there looking to give it his always won the NXTCC, albeit a little bit of a quiet season 8 for Joe Doble compared to his 2 brothers. But then again, sometimes you do have difficult seasons, and it's how you bounce back from them that makes the difference. But as he makes his way across that timeline there, all those are 3 big names to talk about for Doble Sim Racing, but there's also plenty of big names out there, including NextGen Pinks, Jamie Dory, the organiser of the NXTCC. But to be fair, whilst he may be the organiser, he'll be the first to tell you he's not afraid to get right in the thick of it and do battling. And what is a 2-time NXTCC champion overall, and well, knowing that he's got his work cut out if he wants to try and move himself into becoming a three-time champion. Indeed, tied up with the likes of Wojciech Swierdajczyk, but Mikey Doble the only one to go even beyond that, and in the number 13. Now, the one accolade he can say he has is the fact he has never lost the team's championship. He has been a part of every winning team since Season 1, and as he rolls his way on through the old hairpin there, where you can imagine right now for what is Jamie Dory, he'll be feeling as though today is no different, and it's the start of an all-new Teams Championship campaign for Next Gen Pink, who are looking to go for what would be their sixth, well, in fact, I believe it's their 7th title on the bounce ever since Season 3. They have taken the Teams Championship, so if you do the maths there, Season 3, Season 4, Season 5, Season 6, Season 7, Season 8, that's 6 Teams Championships back-to-back, and they're going for their 7th, and as he makes his way on around there, he's going to be in the company of teammates including Gavin Gardner, number 11 driver, who had an absolutely miserable Season 8 in the first half of the season and gradually bounced back over the second half of the season, but it wasn't a season he really wanted to remember, and as he rolls his way on through, I do believe as well we will be seeing Benjamin McCluskey joining the team once again. But coming from drivers then, some of the staples on our grid to new names on the grid, we do have here what is World of Racing combined with STR, and as we do see him making his way on through, this is your number 45 driver and our fastest prime driver out there at the moment of Conrad Kula, who we welcome to the grid with open arms, and he's going to be partnering up with a good number of his teammates out there, and well, the one teammate in particular you may remember who has been on the grid in previous seasons, albeit he'll be running in what is the Pro class, is this man in the Audi RS3 LMS in the number 60, Luciano Whitfoot. And well, Luciano, a very fast driver when he's been on the grid, and one who argue if he can make a full season and make it stick and be consistent, he could definitely be a title contender given the pace he's brought to the top throughout. And well, we look forward to seeing what the World of Racing team are able to do in combination with their STR partnership, their team partner, and as he makes his way on through there, good luck to Luciano and also Conrad. Just named 2 of the team members here, and I believe the 3rd team member is there in the number, what is 032, and that's Alexander Paulik as he makes his way on down the back straight there, also in the Prime class and on his debut. And of course, these new drivers will be running at 16.6 kilograms of success bars as time goes on. In fact, let me just double check the rule book there. I might be wrong on that. In fact, they might be running into this one today without any success bars, given it's an all-new season, and that might be the exception there. But it's anyone who joins at mid-season who takes the 16.6 kilograms. But I'm sure somebody's going to correct me. I'm going to have my race director come all the way around and give me a whisper in the ear if I've got it wrong. But as he makes his way on through there, Paulik right now, well, looking to be at 25th on that qualifying order, at least for this practice session. And again, practice is one thing, going racing is another. As he rolls his way on through, well, coming from one newcomer to another, have we got any other newcomers out there at the moment? Well, we haven't got any out there who are putting in laps. We have got some parts up in the pit lane. And Matthew Jordan right now, who we jump on board with briefly for Next Gen Pink. He joins the Next Gen Pink team in the AM class, a newcomer to the grid and a newcomer to iRacing, having only made his way onto the iRacing service as of yesterday, as I'm to understand it, having spent a lot of time on the R Factor 2 simulation, but from what I'm hearing down the paddock, a very fast driver in terms of how quickly he learns and gets to grip with the simulator, so therefore we could see the number 86 driver definitely rise up through the ranks in the AM class as the season goes on and do so very quickly. But we wish him all the best luck on his debut. But otherwise, it does mean the majority, if not all the names you see on this grid, are all regular names that you have seen over the course of the last 8 seasons. And, well, it means it is going to be one of the closest lobbies that we'll ever see in the NXTCC. And, well, of course, keep in mind, this is the orange lobby and the blue lobby is going on in parallel, but the broadcast for that is going to be live from circuit side. However, we're delaying it until tomorrow, so that way you get to see it and enjoy it, both broadcasts on 2 different nights, and therefore you don't have to feel as though you've got broadcast clash or having to battle for ways your eyes on one monitor and another. I can tell you there's plenty of new names in the blue lobby that's being brought to you by Crest Autosports, Alex Everett, and he's definitely an absolute master in the commentary booth and one to watch out for. But with only 2 minutes left here on this practice session, well, right now, who's setting the pace? Well, it looks like Lewis Delmont setting the pace out there by what is 11 thousandths over this man. And, well, how could I forget? How rude of me not to talk about our 2-time NXTCC champion from Semper Racing. He made a brief appearance towards the end of Season 8, but in a very wet Thruxton pair of races, which ended up being a bit of a disaster in one, but a very good race in another. But it is none other than Wojciech Swierdajczyk, who returns to the grid for a full season in the number 80. And I can tell you right now, he will be joined by his old teammate, who was with Next Gen Pink last time out, but now back to Semper Racing, of Jaroslav Sabula, and the 2 of them together here in the Audi RS3s. And, well, why is this significant? Well, these 2 have proven to be an absolutely incredible combination, and in theory, at least, if Wojciech Swierdajc is on the pace, he is very hard to stop from winning. And Mikey Doble found that out firsthand in what was seasons 4, 5 and 6, where in the end it would be in season 6 that Wojciech Swierdajc would finally take his maiden title and then repeat it in season 7. No matter how hard Mikey Doble huffed and puffed, indeed Jamie Dory getting stuck into the mix there. Also, what was the likes of Adam Delman, all the drivers absolutely pushing them hard, but Wojciech Swierdajc able to find a way ahead all the way through. And I can definitely see there are a few fans in the YouTube chat with regards to the Semper Racing team as we say hello there to Piotr Wolzik, and I do believe I might have butchered your surname there, Piotr, and if so, I do apologise. Unfortunately, my pronunciation of Polish names isn't always great, and well, I'll try and do some research on how to pronounce your name, but cheering on there, none other than Jaroslav Sabula. But as we also say hello to Vrano Esports YouTube and Facebook accounts there, and well, we do have a number that drives on the Vrano Esports group, including, I believe, Marcel Fritsch back in the car once again, albeit in the combined WS Racing Esports machine. And I believe we've got a couple of other drivers out there who we'll bring to you, including Craig Tillerson in due course. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, as the clock strikes an hour, well, it does mean it is now time for us to make our way into our maiden qualifying session of the season. Indeed, we'll go the way of full tilt B motorsport for Ben Gregory, our Pro-Am champion from what was last season. But it's time for qualifying. Who's going to put it on pole? Let's find out. So as qualifying gets underway, and immediately all other drivers will hurry and scurry into their cars, and knowing they'll want to get as much time out of the circuit as humanly possible. Well, it's the packed pit lane there, and everyone poles their way out immediately, very eager to try and get the best possible lap on the board as soon as possible. Indeed, it's going to be a very crowded circuit. And we're being a crowded circuit, but there's going to have to be some space for some drivers there in order to try and deliver an ultimate lap. But as they all roar the way out, and a couple of drivers being too wide there. Well, if you're wondering how can you turn who's a pro driver versus a Pro-Am driver versus an AM driver, well, there's two ways you can do so. In the timing tell on the left-hand side of your screen, you'll notice the pros have a green sash against their names, including, for example, the likes of Adam Delman, who we see back here once again for Next Gen Green this season. It's not quite the SL and Next Gen Gold combination, but now under the Next Gen Green team banner. Albeit you can also see there his son Lewis Delmont just in front of him, and also Callum Murray, as he's known in full, racing as part of the AM class there. And that's how you tell who a pro is, in terms of what's the green sash against their name in the time tower. Alternatively, they will have the black window banner over the front windshield. Meanwhile, for your Pro-Am drivers, including the likes of Russell Fowler for Vrano Esports here, well, the way you tell them is in the time towel, they'll have a pink-purple sash against their name. Alternatively, on the front window, you'll notice they have a black and white sash across what is the front windscreen. And meanwhile, in the AM class, well, you have the likes of Jonathan Collins here for Whiskey Runners Racing with Next Gen, and they have a blue sash against them in the time tower. Alternatively, on the front windscreen of the car, you'll notice there's a red and black sash across the front there with the word AM truly pronounced on it. So that's how you can tell the different classes of drivers out there. And we do have today, at least, where's the best part of 6 AM drivers out there. I believe the best part of what is 15 Pro-Am drivers out there, and then the rest are pros. You do the mathematics, and well, it is an absolutely lovely split of drivers. And here we go then, ladies and gentlemen, for the first time this season, for our first flying lap, start to debate their way onto the board, and who is going to deliver. Well, as our drivers make the way through, I can tell you one thing: whoever the livery artist is for iRace Esports, they've absolutely delivered in the fact we're seeing a whole new livery on the cars this season for the UK-based team, and they consist of the likes of Nick Clibbins, Sam Smith, and also Alan McCain. You can all see them there in a single camera shot, all in the Pro-Am class of this season, and we're all making the way through right now in a trio, a Honda Civic Type R FK8, as they head up towards what will be McLean's, and as they head through up the left-hander Schwann's in towards McLean's now, it's all going to be what will be about trying to carry the speed in that Honda. And we have typically seen, of course, in what has been previous seasons, that the Honda, the ultimate cornering car, and the car that's very strong on the brakes, but the one downside to the Honda being the fact that it does not quite have the top end speed compared to what is its rivals. It will get to the same top speed as its rivals eventually, but it's slow on the acceleration, particularly over what is third gear upwards. So once you start to go into fourth, fifth, and then sixth, it really lacks the pull, whereas compared to, say, the likes of the Audi RS3, the strongest accelerator out there, and the one to get to its top speed the fastest, and then the two Hyundais, the Veloster and the Elantra, are right in between. But then again, they've got their own unique aspects, which we'll talk a little bit about shortly. Now, something else that's new for this season, and we haven't really talked about it in the rule book because to do so we'd have to do a lot of mathematics, is the fact that for this season we are seeing the points that drivers can score in the overall championship restricted to only the top 15 finishers. So whereas previously it was 60 points for the win and we worked our way downwards through all the overall finisher positions, this season we're aligned to the BTCC approach, which is only the top 15 overall finisher positions will score points in the overall drivers championship, and then subsequently the points will be mirrored into the individual classes, so primes and AMs. So it's going to be, it will be 20 points for the victory all the way down to a single point for what will be 15th place, and therefore it means that you've got to work even harder to score big points. And well, as we do see there, a hop over the curves from Luciano Vitford as he makes his way up towards what will be the timeline here, currently 6th in terms of timings. Can he go a bit faster as he crosses the line? My gut feeling says yes, he might be able to, and he goes for initial pole on a 1 minute 11.538. There will also be what will be at points for fastest lap and also a lap led, and also for pole position. But Whitford right now going for that ultimate pole position at point as he rolls his way down in towards Hollywood and the Craner curves, and that Audi RS3 looking at an absolute devil. The other thing as well is in terms of the teams championship, so whereas in previous seasons it was the simple situation whereby the two highest scorers from the team scored the points for the team over the course of a given round, so whether you had 2 drivers or 4 drivers, the advantage essentially went to teams that had 4 drivers, because the more drivers you had on the grid, the higher the chance you could score some big points for your team. For this season, ahead of each and every round before the qualifying session, each team has to declare 2 drivers, and it's a maximum of 2 drivers who will be valid in scoring points. They can't declare any more than that, and it means that teams such as NXTGEN Pink and also iRacing Esports, for example, where they've got more than 2 drivers, they've got to be tactical, because once they've nominated their drivers, they cannot go back on who they've nominated. So, for example, if Jamie Dory for NXTGEN Pink was to nominate himself and Gavin Gardner, and in reality it was Benjamin McCluskey and what was instead Matthew Jordan who scored the best possible points, well, in the end they have to settle for the lesser points that Jamie and Gavin have scored rather than their 2 other teammates. So that's why they've got to be very tactical in terms of who they pick from round to round to have their points scored for the team's championship, and that'll make it very tough in the team's championship, particularly if you're a bigger team out there, because you need to pick the right drivers from round to round to score the points for your team. But as we head a third of the way into this qualifying session, we've still got 10 minutes to go. Well, we talked a little bit about Luciano Whitford being the fastest driver out there in the overall classification, but what about in the prime class? And right now it's 4th place man Russell Fowler in the Audi RS3 LMS, who is looking very good out there in the number 17, it has to be said, rolling his way on through as we say hello to Corporal Collins in the YouTube chat. It says, let's go Jonathan Collins, best of luck this race and season. And well, very happy to have you back tuning in, Corporal Collins. And also a special mention there to Young Su Moon, who is watching on YouTube and enjoying things by the looks of things. And also a special mention there to Andy Fox, who unfortunately was expected to be on the grid for this season but has had to pull out at least for the majority of the season due to personal circumstances. But we are hopeful that Andy's going to be back towards the end of the season. If not, Andy, I'm sure you're tuning in right now and know that it's not quite the same on the NXTCC grid without you. And for context, ladies and gentlemen, Andy Fox could arguably be constituted as perhaps the unluckiest driver that the NXTCC has ever seen. That's not to ridicule him, but in the fact that when he has a good day, he has some of the finest racing days that you'll see of any driver. Somebody who joined midway through, if my memory serves me correctly, joined as part of the Goldwyn Motorsport team back in Season 7. But with all the good luck he's had, it's almost as if he's invested it all in a couple of rounds to have tons of bad luck in other rounds, but sometimes that's the way it goes. But then again, it wouldn't be the same without Andy, I can tell you that. He's an absolutely lovely gentleman on and off the circuit and absolutely missed by everyone going racing. But coming from a driver not on the grid to those who are on the grid in the AM class, Marcel Fritsch being your fastest out there at the moment, and of course our reigning champion in the AM class for what was Season 8. And what is a little bit different for this season is the fact typically we have seen our winners of each of the championship classes. So in AM, for example, Marcel Fritsch from Season 8, in previous seasons we would see that driver promoted to the next class up. And in the same vein, of course, that would mean that from the Pro-Am class, afterwards that absolutely incredible back and forth battle between Ben Gregory and his 2 rivals from Track Scotland of what is Stuart Wyness and also, I believe, unless I'm mistaken, Kieran Smart. Well, after their back and forth battle, it didn't quite work out in the end for what was the Track Scotland team, and it all came the way in the end of what was the team of Full Tilt Motorsport, and it was none other than Ben Gregory who managed to just sneak it away off into the distance. But sometimes that's the way it goes, and well, a surprise there and an intriguing one to be certain. as the tries roar the way on through, and well, time is starting to run out with regards to what is this qualifying session now as we just get over the halfway point, and we do apologise there if the overlay is refreshing itself briefly on screen. Just some slight technical upgrades being made in the background, ladies and gentlemen. Well, very shortly we'll jump on board with one of our tries for a flying lap here as Gavin Garner comes across the timeline, currently down in 19th place, and well, coming across that line and rolling onwards. Well, is he going to be able to find a bit more time out there? Not at the moment, it would seem. Still in 19th and still having to push a little bit harder here as he makes his way deeper and deeper into the qualifying session and towards its ending. But as he rolls his way on through and in towards what will be turn number 4, the old hairpin shortly, it's going to be what is a very, very close run this qualifying session, that's for certain. And we're rolling the way up towards what will be turns 6 and 7 right now. We do look from Gavin Gardner to a driver about to go onto a flying lap, and that's going to be none other than Reese Watt from JW Motorsport as he takes us around for a flying lap here of the Donington Park National Circuit. So making his way across that timeline down into turn number 1. A lot of traffic there, but he's going to quickly skip his way to the inside into Redgate corner for into third gear. They're holding a higher gear, given he is in the Audi RS3, a car that doesn't like to be put down to second gear at the best of times. Now flat out he'll go through Hollywood, and now getting ready to go into the Craner curves here in fifth gear, down to left hand, absolutely riding that apex curve. Hard on the brakes there in towards the old hairpin, but trailing off quickly down to fourth gear, and now back on the throttle as he makes his way through the right and in towards the left-hander through Starkeys. Under the bridge he goes, and now in towards turn number 6 for the Schwann's curve, and as he makes way left into right here, it's all about positioning the car, brake nice and late, go for that late apex. He fights with the steering wheel through the right hander and just about keeps it on track there, using all the circuit width does. Reese Watt as he heads up the rise into Coppice and braking there unsighted from the right-hander at turn number 8, and as he comes on through up the right-hander and down onto the back straight, we'll roll on his way onwards here. It's now a charge all the way to the final quarters, coming in towards the SS sequence. Has he been able to improve so far on this lap? Not so far. With the first two sectors, hard on the brakes there, down to third gear, hops over the apex curve, up to fourth, nice and early there to assist with the traction coming out of the corner, and heading towards that timeline. What's Watt going to be able to do this time? Well, it doesn't look as though he's going to improve. He will stay 22nd, and what will be 9th in class, but right now, look how close it is. The top 20 separated by just shy of 6 tenths, and Jamie Dory finds himself right on the bubble in 20th place at the moment, and meanwhile, Luciano Vitford on that provisional pole by 27 thousandths over Wojciech Swierdaj. And it's looking as though the Audis are very strong at the moment, and well, a big surprise there, because we typically haven't seen the Audis go that strong here at Donington Park, but it seems though the Audis this season at least looking in a much stronger position, at least to kick off the season. And well, we've typically seen what has been a combination of the Hyundai Elantras and what is the Honda Civic Type R's go very strong at Donington Park National, but it seems though today at least the Audis are out there in force, although that's not to be said, we haven't got some Hondas up there. Adam Delmont being the third place car out there and the fastest Honda, and well, meanwhile in the Hyundai section we do have the Hyundai Veloster here of Mikey Doble, the leading Hyundai, and he's got Isaac Doble not too far behind him there by the best part of what is just shy of a 10th, or in fact 100th I should say, of a second, as Wojciech Swierdaj strikes back and moves into pole position. Well, 1 minute 11.517, and well, absolutely attacking that still is Swierdaj. Meanwhile, what about Jaroslav Sabula? What can he do? Well, he's just in front there, so the two teammates trying to help each other, and Sabula, not normally the fastest driver in qualifying, hasn't taken that many pole positions in his NXTCC career. In fact, if my memory serves me correctly, he has not taken a qualifying pole position. He has had a couple of front row starts, but his qualifying positions have typically been on what have been the second through to fourth rows of the grid after qualifying. But Sabula, a very good driver in what is race trim by comparison, and knows how to very quickly find his way up through the field through some very decisive driving. And as he makes his way up the wires in towards turn number 8, well, with only 3 minutes left on the board right now, are there any surprises out there? Well, our season 6 AM champion of Mark Sykes back in the AM class for this season. He was moved back into AM during season 8, if my memory serves me correctly, after really struggling in the first half of the season. Well, right now for Mark, it's a difficult qualifying session as well, in the fact that he'll feel as though he's done a lot out there, but then he'll feel as though he's got the best part of what is 9 thousandths to Jonathan Collins, and those 9 thousandths they will feel absolutely huge in terms of time, albeit right now Mark Sykes trying to chase down Collins, and Sykes going to, for this season, the Honda Civic Type R. Normally he's running the Audi, if my memory serves me correctly, say. And, oh well, as he makes way through Coppice Bend, switching to the Honda, I'm going to have to try and get a chat with him over the course of what this be this season in order to understand why he switched from his favourite car to what is a car that he's not really had the eyes for in previous seasons, it must be said. But sometimes it happens, and something tells me as he bounces his way over the apex curve there of turn number 9. This might be one of those situations akin to a Jason Plato, whereby the Hondas have frustrated him for so long over the course of his NXTCC career that he's finally decided to switch himself into a Honda, albeit Plato saying it'll be his final season where he drive a Honda, albeit Mark Sykes, I don't think this planning to be his final season, but definitely driving a Honda as he makes his way on around. We also do have a couple of drivers in the pit lane, Cal Murray and also Craig Tillotson, both in the pits, and they may not be going any further in this qualifying session. They're currently 34th and 35th respectively, the last are 2 drivers, so it might be a bit of a surprise and not a welcome one in terms of how the qualifying session is going. As the drivers roar and romp their way on around, well, we do look to what is there Matthew Jordan on his debut in the next-gen pink liveried Honda number 86, and as he comes across the timeline, he's currently in 4th place in the AM class, and as we said earlier, definitely a driver to watch out for in the fact he is going to look to improve more and more with each and every lap he turns, and there's no reason why he can't be potentially chasing an AM podium over the course of later today, if not over the course of the season. As meanwhile, Wojciech Swerdych is in the pit lane, he's out the car as Andrew Pike, the Sim Racing Collectors premier driver in the 57, moves his way up into 3rd there on a 1 minute 11.619, absolutely glued to the back of Russell Fowler's Audi, and I think that might explain where suddenly a lot of time has come for that Honda, albeit Pike is no slouch on a Honda, it must be said. This is the car he's stuck with for so long over the course of his NXTCC career. He has lived and died by the sword of the Honda, and as he makes his way on through the old hairpin, well, when he gets it right, I can tell you one thing, you are looking at one of the most unstoppable drivers in the Honda Civic Type R, in the fact he just finds a way to extract pace out of it like nobody else can, and he seems to make the car that's the sliced on the straights become one of the fastest, or at least for the amount of speed he carries to the corners. But there's a late spin in the tail as Mikey Doble now moves to the original pole, 1 minute 11.5, absolutely dead on the dot, and that means that's 17,000 faster than Wojciech Swerdych. So Swerdych will not be taking the maiden pole position of the season. It could go to Mikey Doble unless anybody else can find some time. Well, Luciano Vitfort's into the pit lane as I look out my coin tooth window, so he won't be improving here. Remember, overtime is in effect for qualifying, so when the clock strikes 15 minutes, they will be allowed to finish the lap they're currently on. Nick Clemens is making his way on 3 as well, the highest placed prime driver, currently 9th place overall, but in 2nd place in the prime class. Can he get a bit close to Russell Fowler, who's just crossed the timeline? Oh, I don't think so, and that's going to be his final lap as he comes across the timeline. Did improve in the first sector, but not in the rest of the lap. The same for Sam Smith and Alan McCain. All 3 of the Irish esports drivers finding improvements in sector 1, but not in sectors 2 and 3. And will some more drivers coming through, including William Guthrie for Full Tilt Motorsport as he makes his way on through, and well, as he rides his way over the curbs and out towards what will be the timeline. What's it going to be for Guthrie here as he comes across that line? It is going to be for the pro driver. It's currently 18th, and that's a surprise. He's going to stay 18th. That is not a qualifying session we would expect from the number 46 driver in the Honda, and well, he's got some hard work cut out for him when he goes racing. Kieran Smart, meanwhile, for Track Scotland, one of the 2 Track Scotland drivers, and you can tell the difference between him and his teammate Stuart Winess in the fact that Winess will be running what is the orange markers on the car, whereas it's lime green for Kieran Smart. Well, these two were both big stars and big battlers in the Prime Class last season, but right now it seems as though for what is Track Scotland, they are quite a way off the pace. We're winding down in 31st and Smart in 17th. He's closer to the front of the field, but no by means close enough. And he comes across the timeline here, and I don't think Smart's going to find more time. No, he's not. He stays in 17th. So some big surprises there in this qualifying session. And Adam Delmont, meanwhile, whilst all this has been going on, has snuck his way into pole position on 1 minute 11.479. So Mikey Doe, I think, thought he had it all done. And then suddenly, Adam Delmont is the only one to hit a 1 minute 11.4. It's a 4.79, and Adam Delmont has taken pole position. And could this be a sign of something to come? Because some of you would argue, and indeed I'd be inclined to agree with you, that Adam Delmont by now should have taken an NXTCC Overall Drivers' Championship crown. He's yet to do so. He's had a lot of seasons where it was close but not close enough, but Adam Delmont starting off this season looking strong. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, that is qualifying complete. It's Adam Delmont who takes overall pole. Russell Fowler will line up in 6th place for prime pole, and meanwhile in the AM class, it's Mark Sykes who in the end was able to steal away AM pole position over Jonathan Collins, and he will start 25th on the grid. But as they all make their way onto the grid, well, we are going to have a little bit of a brief warm-up period, ladies and gentlemen, a 5-minute period in which all the drivers are going to be read the rule book on the right, and that will be done by what will be our race director and also series organizer Jamie Dory. So the circuit will fall silent for 5 minutes as they are just going to be told all the rules and given a reminder of exactly how things work, something new for this season, for what is the season opener, whereby we are having all our drivers given the rights act, if you will. Indeed, that happens in many a motorsporting series, both on the simulator and also in real life, and the fact they are told exactly what the rules and regulations are in between. But let's take you back through what was those qualifying results. Let's bring those up on screen. And well, as we can see there, from qualifying, Adam Delmont taking up pole position by 21 thousandths. It sounds such a small margin, but a thousandth is tiny. To do it by 200ths or just over, particularly versus Mikey Doble, that is a huge result there, and you can understand why Adam Delmont might be absolutely ecstatic. And in the end, it looked so the Audis were so dominant in qualifying, only for a Honda to pip them, and also a Hyundai Veloster to sneak its way onto that front row as well, and that's going to be fireworks on that front row. But let's not forget the fact you've got Wojciech Swierdijk and Luciano Wittfurt, the Semper Racing and World of Racing stroke STR Motorsports drivers together there, and will two very fast drivers, and two drivers will be very eager to score big points straight away. Andrew Pike starts 5th at the Sim Racing Collective Esports. Head of Rhino Esports is Russell Fowler with a brilliant prime pole lap there for 6th place, and Russell Fowler has been one of those drivers in previous seasons, and many of you may remember at Fuji in what was season 5 when he made his debut. Goodness me, that was the best part of a year and a half ago, and I can still remember losing my voice, that Russell Fowler came out of nowhere and suddenly absolutely dominated in prime in his debut round. Jaroslav Sabula in 7th there for Semper Racing. A good qualifying points from him ahead of Isaac Doble, the Doble Sim Racing driver. Now he's got it all to do there, how from the full throw of the grid in order to chase after brother Mikey and give him some support and also score some points of his own. And then it'll be iRacing Esports' Nick Clemens and Lewis Delmont for NXTGEN Green, who complete the top 10 in the pair of Hondas there, 2nd and 3rd in the prime class. Further on down the order, meanwhile, looking outside of the top 20, in terms of those qualifying positions, well, we do have there starting on what will be the 13th row of the grid, Mark Sykes as your pole sitter for NXTGEN Orange in the 499, ahead of JW Motorsports, so JWM's Reese Watt. And there'll be Conrad Kula on his debut for World of Racing at STR Motorsports, ahead of Jonathan Collins, the 2nd place starter for NXTGEN Orange. And it's a NXTGEN Orange 1-2 in the AM class of qualifying. And Verano Esports is Marcel Fritsch in the end, fighting through to a 3rd place in the AM class of qualifying, 29th on that grid, and what was almost a whole 10th off of Jonathan Collins. But Marcel Fritsch, to be fair to him, opting to switch cars up this season and making his way into the Honda Civic Type R from what has been his stalwart car of the Hyundai Elantra. And your top 30 being completed by Benjamin Gregory. I don't know where the pace was for Gregory, but right now it was not where you wanted it to be, and a 30th on the grid. That's not the way he wants to start his day whatsoever. But then again, I say that, remember how tight this field is, and the fact from 30th all the way to 1st, not even 8/10 of a second. That's how close qualifying has been in previous seasons, and it continues to be that incredibly close each and every season, and that's what we love to see, in the fact that this grid is separated by absolutely tiny margins, and even a 10th could promote you suddenly from 30th on the grid. In Ben Gregory's case, it would suddenly put you all the way up to 27th on the grid. That's 3 places game for a 10th, and it gets even tighter the more you go. And starting all the way to the back of the grid, it will be Cal Murray and Craig Tillerson, and the NXTGEN Green and Verano Esports drivers there having a difficult qualifying session. But still, qualifying is one part of the story, going racing is another, and sometimes all you've got to do is stay out of trouble, and you can suddenly find yourself making your way all the way up that running order. But that is a quick rundown of the qualifying results there, ladies and gentlemen. And whilst we do have a minute, a brief breather before we do make our way into what will be our race of today. The first of our races, I should say, of course, there are going to be 3 of them. A quick reminder of that schedule for round number 1 of our 10-round championship here for Season 9 in the orange lobby of the NXTCC. And as we can see, we've had qualifying, and coming up very shortly is going to be your first race of the day. 16 laps, all 3 of our races, and it'll be our race 1 of 3. We're expecting clear skies all the way through today. No rain on the schedule whatsoever here at the Donington Park Races Circuit. We're a track temperature of 35 degrees centigrade currently, but it is cooling with the absence of cars on circuit, and is a lovely ambient temperature of 20 degrees centigrade with a very gentle wind as well blowing. So an absolutely perfect combination to go racing. And of course, this circuit located on one side of the East Midlands Airport, and you will see every so often planes taking off in the background. And well, that's no lie, and that's no simulation. The fact that the runway does taxi over what is, well, in fact, planes do come down onto the runway, I should say, rather than taxiing and take off over the Donington Park circuit. And well, an absolutely easy circuit to get to, whether you're located domestically in the UK or indeed further abroad. But with that, well, the checker flag comes out then on this warm-up session, and it is now time, ladies and gentlemen, for our drivers to head to the grid for the first time this season. So as our drivers make the way onto the grid, this is how they'll line up for round 1's race 1 of the championship for season 9 of the NXTCC Orange Lobby, powered by Doble Motorcycles and brought to you on iRacing. Adam Delmont takes the opening pole position of the season and arguably the hardest fought one with no success ballast in the car for NXTGEN Green ahead of Doble Sim Racing's Mikey Doble. They will be joined on row number 2 by Wojciech Swierdijk for Semper Racing and World of Racing STR Motorsports' Luciano Whitford from the Netherlands. From the Dutchman to the two Brits of Andrew Pike, who starts 5th for the Sim Racing Collective's esports team, ahead of Russell Fowler, your prime pole sitter for Verano Esports. And then you have behind him on row number 4 and 7th place, Jarosław Sabula for Semper Racing, the Polishman being joined by the Englishman of Isaac Doble for Doble Sim Racing. Your top 10 is completed by Nick Clewins for iRacing Esports, and a good qualifying performance there for the Briton ahead of Lewis Delmont for NXTGEN Green. But keep your eyes out there for the younger member of the Delmont family. Season 8 was all about him making his name, but this season's about him going chasing a championship campaign. We then come on to row number 6, and it will be Ben Altrier for Full Tilt Motorsport ahead of Alan McCain for iRacing Esports. We then do have Alex Meredith starting 13th for Whiskey Runners Racing with NXTGEN ahead of the Sim Racing Collective Esports' Tom Davidson. We then have Sam Smith for iRacing Esports on 15th for the grid, and he's in the company of JWM Motorsports Michael Leese. We then have Kieran Smart for Track Scotland, 17th on the grid, and a difficult qualifying session for Track Scotland, but ahead of William Guthrie there for Full Tilt Motorsport, who in his own right who seemed to struggle in qualifying. And Joseph Doble will start 19th for Doble Sim Racing ahead of Duncan at Moraes for Goldwyn Motorsport, the highest place Goldwyn Motorsport's driver there. And then we do come on to what is row number 11, and it will be Jamie Dorey in a difficult qualifying session for the NXTGEN Pink driver ahead of Lee Horn for his teammate. And there will be Gavin Gardner, also part of the team there, starting 23rd ahead of none other than what is newcomer Alexander Paulik, who wish the best luck there, the German driver for World of Racing STR Motorsports. Then it will be Mark Sykes and pole sitter, 25th on the grid, starts off the 13th row for NXTGEN Orange, ahead of Reese Watt, another difficult qualifying session there. While the big names in the Prime class starting 26th, and it will be Conrad Kula for World of Racing STR Motorsports, 27th on the grid ahead of Jonathan Collins for NXTGEN Orange. There could be some sparks between the two AM teammates as he's the second of them on the AM qualifying grid, with Marcel Fritsch just behind there, 3rd place in AM class, but 29th on the grid for Verano Esports, ahead of Ben Gregory for Full Tilt Motorsport. And then we do have on what is row number 16, Stuart Winus for Track Scotland ahead of NXTGEN Pinks, none other than on his debut, Matthew Jordan. And then it will be Matthew Addy for NXTGEN Orange ahead of NXTGEN Green's Cal Murray, with none other than Craig Tillerson completing that starting order of what will be 35 cars for Verano Esports. But that is your grid, ladies and gentlemen, for the first race of the season. And as they all sit there, all lined up right now, well, for Adam Delmont, it feels like it's only a short run to Redgate Corner, but for Mikey Doble, it'll feel as though he's got to start off strong. And as we sit briefly inside the car for the Doble Sim Racing driver in the number 1, he'll be feeling as though it's a short run, but one that he can get it all done by. Albeit he's done it once already over the course of the last few days in a Vauxhall Astra, but he's going to do it now in a Hyundai Veloster. But can a Honda keep it at bay for Adam Delmont? Will the lights go on? It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights. And it's lights out, and away we go for Season 9 of the NXTCC as our drivers roar away across the line, and as they do, down towards Turn 1, look at the start for Wojciech Swierdijk, getting very scrappy there versus Mikey Doble, and punches his way on through into the potential lead of the race. It goes round the outside, and Swierdijk takes the lead, or does he? No, Adam Delmont comes back immediately and says, no, you don't, and as they roar the way down in towards the Craner curves for the first time. Well, right now, is anybody going to look to go too wide here on what will be cold tyres? And what you can see, Andrew Pike tries to do so, almost edges himself out there to the inside of the old hairpin, and Isaac Doble now swings on through, and Jarosław Sabula's caught blind there as they make the one for a bit of contact between the two of them. Sabula makes his way back on, and as they do, there's been a little bit of argy-bargy further back, and that is going to be some moves being made there by Sam Smith, who's moving up ahead of Kieran Smart, and Kieran Smart being absolutely swarmed right now, albeit I should say that Kieran Smart's gained some places and is now trying to make sure he doesn't lose them after gaining them. Further back, we have a bit of change for what is none other than Alexander Paulik, who's gained his way out to 24th. As you can see in front of him right now, a bit of a battle there for Alan McCain versus Duncan Rice and Joseph Doble. And in fact, Joseph Doble getting on the inside there through Coppins Bend versus Duncan Rice as they now make the way down the back straight in towards the S's for the first time. But as they come down to the braking zone, with Lewis Delmont being pushed along here by none other than Jarosław Sabula, and the prime leader right now of Lewis Delmont. He's gained 2 places since the start of this race. It's a brilliant start to the race for the Delmont family, and after 1 lap, it's Adam Delmont who leads, followed by Mikey Doble. Then it's Wojciech Swierdijk in 3rd, ahead of Luciano Whitford. Andrew Pike sits 5th, ahead of Isaac Doble 6th. Lewis Delmont, your prime leader, is 7th, and starting to fall away from the top 6 pack. Jarosław Sebula is 8th, ahead of Russell Fowler, followed by Nick Clemens, who completes your top 10, and then it'll be Alex Meredith in 11th, best of the rest. But as they come all the way through the quarters, rowing the wound down, well, right now there's still plenty more to come here, and it's been a brilliant opening lap as they go 3 wide further back here. That's going to be Winers, Gregory and Collins. They're going to get very close together, and that's going to be a big sideways turn there, albeit Benjamin Gregory, I don't know how he survived that. I think in the end had to ride his luck with the cars around him. They gave each other the space in the end, albeit they had to force it. Matthew Addy moves up another place there versus Marcel Fritsch up the inside. Oh, it's gone wrong there for Matthew Jordan, who takes the grass, takes another side of the grass, and then decides to stop trimming the grass and makes way back on. But very good car control there from the 86 driver to bring it back together. And drops to the back of the pack, but right back behind Craig Tillotson. Speaking of Craig Tillotson here, will we jump on board the Rd1 esports machine, the Hyundai Elantra, as he tries to fight his way past Cal Murray, and Marcel Fritsch is getting very tight here between the guys at the back of the field in the AM class. But to be fair, they're putting on some brilliant racing back here. But Tillotson falling off the circuit at Coppice Bend, that's not going to help him as he now goes chasing. Also, it'll be Fritsch and Murray down towards the S's, but there's Fritsch having to go defensive. Murray looking up the inside, really trying to force the door open. And as they come through, Cal Murray goes all in, and now it's going to give Craig Tillotson an opportunity to try and get involved here. But Cal Murray gets the place, and I think Marcel Fritsch will feel as though that was a little bit forced, but Murray's going to say, you know what, sometimes you've got to get your elbows out, and Tillotson not close enough to respond, as here comes Jordan up the inside, in towards what will be the opening quarter, swings around one side of Tillotson, goes all in versus Marcel Fritsch. Where on earth did he come from? Well, he's suddenly gained 2. Is he going to go for 3 places here? I think Matthew Jordan is, and what a brilliant trio of moves there, and I think he's caught everyone by surprise. They come on down, and now it's going to be side by side here between what will be Murray and Fritsch is going to be on the inside here into the old hairpin. 2 wide they come down to the braking zone, and Tillotson right now, if you could put a bucket of popcorn inside this car, he'd have the perfect cinematic seat. But right, that's going to be the change of the battle there, and it's going to be Marcel Fritsch up into 4th in the AM class, and Matthew Jordan moves up into 3rd. But meanwhile, whilst all this has been going on, let's not forget we've got battles at the front of the field we're playing out as they make the way down the back straight. Well, right now this is Isaac Doble all over the back of Andrew Pike here, and remember, all these cars have no success ballast in them as of this race, so therefore it's a completely open playing field. As being an open playing field, that's Mikey Doble trying to go inside to outside, coming on through the S's. Can't quite find it. Adam Delmont not letting him through. Comes off the inside here, and well, as they make the way through, Wojciech Swierdowicz saying, remember me, to Mikey Doble. Mikey says, yes, I do. Can you go away? And Swierdowicz says, no, I'm here to stay. He tries to go around the outside of the red gate corner. He loves trying to do this, and as they make the way down, well, right now, this top 6 is absolutely razor close. In fact, you've only got half a second between all 6 cars. They come down through the Craner S's, and as they make the way on through, big sideways moment there for Swierdowicz. Catches the car in time, however, that's going to open up the door to Whitford, and Whitford's going to be on the inside here in the battle of the 2 Audis, both trying to get the traction up the hill as they come through the left-hander under Starkey's bridge. And all the way through now in towards McLean's, where it's no change between the drivers right now, but it is so close between them, you wouldn't want to try and bet who's going to be leading come the end of this lap. Albeit Adam Dillon, I think, will be betting his odds against them as they make the way around. As meanwhile, a bit further back, it's a big sideways moment there, a bit of a coming together, and well, they both back off. That's Michael Lees, who's got Sam Smith going one way, and then it's going to be Kieran Smart the other way, and in the end, Lees is elbowed out onto Coppice, onto the exit curb in there, and well, that's going to enable Jamie Dorr and Tom Davidson to come on through, but I don't think Lees is going to be too happy with that as they make the way on down. And well, Tom Davidson right now side by side with Dory. These two have made some progress, albeit Davidson's got the places back he lost at the start. Jamie Dory meanwhile gained 6 places overall and 2 in the pro class over the course of the running over the distance as they make the way up towards another lap. But as they come down towards the next lap, well, meanwhile, Russell Fowler fighting here with what is Ben Altria as they come into the braking zone in towards what is turn number 1. It's Fowler on the inside of the Verano Esports in the yellow gold Audi versus what the full tilt motorsport Hyundai Elantra of Altria, and Altria trying to go around the outside here in the battle of the 2 beasts in the straight line. And as they make the way through Hollywood into the Craner curves, it's still too wide all the way into the old hairpin. Fowler's now going to defend it, but you can see the car going sideways there under braking. A lot of rear bias in order to try and get that car to rotate, but it makes it very unsteady for the old hairpin, and that's going to enable Altria just to slice ahead there as the Hyundai driver now consolidates the position. But looking back from the rear of Altria's car, you're riding on board with a 504, and well, as he does so, this is brilliantly close in the fight for what is second place in the Prime class. It's given Nick Clemens an opportunity to just simply walk away right now, and Clemens has only got ways at 1.3 seconds, but in NXTCC terms, 1.3 seconds is the equivalent of an entire lap's worth of racing as they make the way out of Coppice Bend. Well, right now Fowler close. Can he get back here versus Altria? I think he's going to feel as though he can. He's going to peel to the inside here. Does he go all in? And decides not to. I think he recognises the fact it's too far away at this point in the day, as meanwhile Sam Smith has caught up to the back of this. as does Tom Davidson, and what is there, Jamie Dory a bit further behind, as Smith decides to take a little bit of a run out wide there in order to be able to see the exit of the corner, but as they make the way down towards turn number 1, when the rear of the picture, that's 3 wide, that's 3 by 3, I don't think I've ever seen that, and that is going to be Michael Lee's trying to cover the inside of both what is Lewis Delman and Joe Doble, as Doble then decides to back out, a little bit of elbows out there between Doble and what is, I believe, Gavin Garner, who sneaks his way out the inside of 2 cars plus another one, and well, Gavin Garner now moves up into 18th place, overtaking there Joe Doble, Alan McCain, Lee Horn and Duncan Rise. Marais drops all the way to the back of this group as suddenly Alexander Paulick gains onto the back of it as they make the way through, and right now it's absolutely brilliant racing wherever you look between these drivers, albeit as they make the way up the hill. Well, from them, oh my goodness, and that's a big moment there. Let's give me a couple of cars turn sideways. That's Russell Fowler and I believe what is not Michael Lee, Sam Smith, as he rejoins off in the distance there. That is Smith, who was also sent to the grass, but Russell Fowler the biggest victim of that contact. Our first major incident really of the day of racing here, and what I'm amazed it's taken them to 6 laps before that's happened, but to be fair, that shows you the brilliant respect they're showing each other, and that is a car pointing in the wrong direction. They don't normally point that way, and well, I think the field's trying to go around it. We'll try and get you a bit of context on that shortly, but meanwhile, as we come all the way back to the front of the field, this is Doble, Whitford and Whitfield-Deitch, 3 wide, and Delmont's lost the place to the leaders, but he's going to try and get back in here. Mikey Doble defending that inside line, and they're ping-ponging off each other right now. That's how close they're running, but as they come down through Hollywood, well, right now it's going to be an absolute blockbuster as Whitfield-Deitch goes to the inside of the crane of curves. Doble still defending. Oh, goodness, Delmont versus Whitfield-Deitch. Whitfield-Deitch goes sideways across the road. Well, in the end, they all back off in order to let Whitfield-Deitch pass by them. Some brilliant awareness of all drivers involved, but I think there's Whitfield-Deitch and Delmont fighting over the inside line, and neither one wanting to give, and Delmont in the middle of the road now. They're practically trying to go 3 wide at every corner, and Whitford's going to be on the insider as they come in towards what will be McLean's corner. Whitford takes the lead in this race, but Delmont now looking to come back as Doble and Piking up behind, and that's Isaac Doble there, who's got ahead of brother Mikey. Mikey's fallen back to 5th place there. I think he's deciding to get out of the fight for a brief moment, let everyone take some life out of their tyres as they fight the way on through in towards what will be the S's this time, and as they make the way on towards what will be turns 9 and 10, well, Luciano Whitford is able to break away as it's 2 by 2 here, and it's going to be the Doble sim racing machines on the inside of their peers as Delmont comes into contact there, Isaac Doble, and well, Isaac Doble will rejoin. The whole field gives space and lets him rejoin as they make the way down, and with some great respect being shown here in terms of letting cars rejoin right in the thick of it. How they can be this aware, I don't know. That shows you the testament of the fact they've got eyes on the left at the back of the heads, but as they make the way on through Redgate corner, well, things will calm down for a brief moment as Isaac Doble falls back into 4th place. Here you have Sabula and making the way towards the halfway point of this race right now. Well, Sabula there close but can't quite get involved at this time, and all over the back of Isaac Doble as also Alex Meredith there having to try and go around the outside of Whitfield-Deitch. And Meredith for this season, the Whiskey Runners race in Hyundai Veloster. He's finally decided to leave the mantle of the Hyundai Elantra, and well, right now in a new car, a new spirit, a new season for him. We look forward to seeing what he's going to be able to do in the pro class here as the whole field now queues up behind them, and Ben Altria right at the back of this group as we ride aboard here. Oh my goodness, and that's a big side sideways for Nick Clemens, and well, as they make the way out the rise, that's going to be Clemens, your prime leader, with Altria right on the back of him. I think there Clemens getting a bit too close under braking in towards what was McLean's and tapping the rear of what was Andrew Pite's car, and in the end the car was going completely sideways, but they've been able to keep it together. But I can take the words there definitely of Damon McQueen saying the gloves are definitely off, and indeed it's only race number 1, but it is literally like they've never left the racing behind after season 8, and as they roar the way through, well, right now definitely there is a lot of testosterone out there, and they are absolutely attacking this circuit. As they roar the way onwards, we're in towards it's turn number 1 this time. We're going to the second half of this race now, where still more fighting to come, and well, speaking of fighting, Matthew Jordan off camera has fought his way all the way into the lead of the AM class here, as he's right now leading AM ahead of Jonathan Collins and Mark Sykes, and Matthew Jordan is absolutely flying as Mark Sykes meanwhile cuts the inside of his next gen orange team out of Collins. These two are going to fight each other into Redgate corner. Matthew Addy says, can I get involved? I think Collins says, well, no, I prefer you don't. I said, I think Addy's going to say, no, I wasn't asking. And as they make the way down in towards the crane of curves, Addy there on the inside to the outside shortly coming on through, and as they make the way on down into the old hairpin, well, Addy offline there, he's going to have to back off. That's too tight of a line. He's not going to be able to make that move stick, but roaring their way onwards, he'll get the better run out the corner, as it does look as though Collins hits the top end of a gear, and as they roar the way out the corner, here comes Cal Murray as well, looking to try and make a move here in the Honda in the AM battle for what will be 3rd place, trying to chase after Jonathan Collins. Addy on the inside there, Collins really trying to muscle his way through, but you're right on board here with Cal Murray for Next Gen Green. And as he comes in towards what is turn number 8, looking one way, then looking the other. And well, the short answer is he can't find a way through at the moment, it would seem. Albeit close, not quite close enough here, but he'll get the better run down the back straight versus that Audi of Addy. He'll initially gain, but then as they get towards the middle gears, that's where he struggles. He decides to go all in on the brakes here. And well, a bold move from Cal Murray, but sometimes you've got to be bold and brave to get things done. And that's how he moves up into 29th place ahead of Matthew Addy. A brilliant bit of decisive manoeuvring there from Cal Murray. And well, making himself felt as they head in towards turn number 1 once again. But as they fight all through, well, from them, we look back up the order. We look to Reese Watt, who ends up in a bit of a side-by-side battle here with William Guthrie. And Guthrie had an absolutely dismal qualifying session, starting 18th place. Well, dismal by his standards, I suspect, in terms of how we're defining that adjective. And as they come down in towards the old hairpin, another adjective that could be used to describe this right now is absolutely on a wire as they make the way on through turns 4 into 5. In the fact that Guthrie ran a bit wide, I think Reese Watt enabling that by a little bit of a sideways shunt. But as they come up the hill in towards turn number 7, well, here comes Watt once again. Has to back off. Stuart Wine is now trying to absolutely get involved and gets queued up behind as they make the way up the rise and in towards what will be Coppice Bend. On the inside of the pair of them is Conrad Kula. Kula trying to open up the door here for himself and teammate Paulik to make the way on through. But the World of Race STR Motorsports drivers right now figuring out the fact that it's not easy to pass the Track Scotland card because of the fact that Stuart Wine is, whilst that Elantra does look pretty narrow in terms of how it looks on the cameras, he can make it a very wide car indeed. And therefore they're going to have to wait for their opportunities. Russell Fowler also sits at the back of this pack and looks for an opportunity to get involved at some point. But as they make the way across that timeline onto what will be now lap number 11, a bit of run wide there for Craig Tillerson in the rear of the picture as he's chasing after Cal Murray, but he can't quite find a way in at the moment. And Benjamin Gregory is not too far back. Lewis Delmont is a couple of laps down, I do believe, afterwards the damage picked up. In fact, a lap down. Let's get that clarified. And Marcel Fritsch the same. Well, we are going to get a replay of some of the incidents from earlier on in this race, including what happened to Cal Murray on lap number 6. And here's a replay, ladies and gentlemen, as we do take a look back at what exactly happened. And well, this is a camera angle that we're not quite expecting on the car, but this was on the run down into the old hairpin, and this was him running wide there for Cal Murray, and in at the end having to bring the car back together. And well, the battling side by side there between himself and what was at the time Marcel Fritsch, just losing out a little bit as Craig Tillerson queuing on up. I think we have got some other moments there in terms of replay moments, including what happened to Lewis Delmont only a little bit later. And well, this was Lewis Delmont's car ending up, I believe this was where Lewis Delmont got turned around effectively, and yes, it was a bounce over the Coppice curb, and well, the car going completely around and in the end coming to a standstill. And I think Lewis Delmont would be very grateful for the fact that the car in the end being in the right position, albeit, oh goodness me, Marcel Fritsch in the end not taking a race action in time, and that ended up with the contact between the two drivers, and well, that brought their races to an abrupt halt. Well, as we come back to your live racing, we've still got a few more laps to go, and well, with those laps to go right now, we do look to what is none other than Ben Altria, who's absolutely trying to push forward here for Full Tilt Motorsport in the 504. He has got Nick Clemens right behind him as they make the way on through what is the old hairpin and up towards turns 6 and 7. And Nick Clemens there, the Irish Esports driver. Well, Irish Esports had a very quiet qualifying session in the fact they did seem to be in a little bit of a world of their own. They're working together and qualified well together, but Clemens right now, as he normally does so, he normally finds a lot of pace over the race distance and is on the attack here in the number 013 as they roar the way down the back straight and chasing after Altria 9. Kieran Smart is only a further 6 tenths up the road, so it's a freeway fight for the victory in the what is the prime class as Clemens gets very close there, very testing on the brakes, but in the end just showing you the difference in the braking potential of the Honda versus the Hyundai Elantra. We do know the Elantra struggles at high track temperatures, albeit the track temperature's not that high at the moment, albeit I can imagine it has gone up over the course of the race. And Clemens looking around the outside there into Redgate Corner, trying to cut back to the inside to get a really good launch, but hits the apex curb there, dips the rear right tyre into what is the grooves in front of the curb, albeit when I say in front of the curb, more towards the grass, and that's why you did see the car briefly cock a leg there, or cock a woo if you will, not because he's going that quickly, but because he's bounced the car off of the inside of the curbing. So therefore it's Clemens who loses a little bit of momentum as they make the way out of the old hairpin, and up they go in towards what will be McLean's once again. But as they do, Kieran Smart still holding on here, and the Track Scotland driver who started in what was 8th place in the Prime class, he's fought his way all the way through into lead of the Prime class after what was a dismal moment for Lewis Delmont, who was leading at one point. Indeed, a number of drivers who've fallen by the wayside, but Kieran Smart seems to have found his way safely and succinctly through all the chaos and carnage around him in order to move into that lead. And now he's just trying to hold on for a little bit longer. And will Kieran Smart, the driver who arguably on paper in the end opted to give away his championship campaign to his teammate Stuart Winus with 3 rounds to go in season 8, but could this be a very different tale today? As meanwhile, it's 3 wide here in the battle for what is the AM lead. lead. That's Mark Sykes, so you can see defending the inside, cutting to the outside. And then Russell Fowler, the prime driver, who's ready to fly in the ointment as Jonathan Collins comes on front. I think Matthew Jordan going a bit wide there out of Coppice corner. I think he might have been given a bit of an elbow there in the 86, but of course that's a little bit of a way to take a bit of baptism by fire in the NXTCC, and the fact you are going to be racing against drivers who will get their elbows out, and as they come down, what is the and start for it straight in towards turn number 1. Well, there's a move. That's going to be what is Russell Fowler all the way on the inside there. Swings the inside. That's an overall position gain there for the prime driver versus the AMS. But Russell Fowler does not want any part in this. He wants to get away from it as quickly as possible. But something tells me right now that in his mind, he's going to be thinking, okay, now I've just got to try and pull away. But I don't think Mark Sykes will want to pull away. As Jonathan Collins goes very deep there, carrying too much speed. And in the end, gets it wrong on the brake. And the car goes onwards. And as he makes his way up the rise, the 1-2-3 driver, well, as he roars his way back into the circuit, Matthew Addy will come through, and Cal Murray and Craig Tillotson now will be not too far behind him, and Collins will know he's got to look more and more in his rearview mirrors rather than forward. But speaking of looking forward, let's look forward to the very front of the field after all the absolutely frantic action we saw in the open half of the race. Well, he seems to have calmed things down a little bit now as Luciano Whitford is leading still by half a second, if that, as we look back from the rear from the race lead in the Audi RS3, and this Audi, well, it seemed to be very strong in qualifying over a single lap, and then it was proven wrong by Adam Delmont. But right now, it does look as though this Audi, once it's able to get a little bit of daylight between itself and the Honda, is now starting to be able to stabilise its advantage. Albeit I can imagine Delmont is absolutely hustling that Honda behind. And well, the Dutchman here we're riding on board with Whitford in the number 60. He won't be sitting around either. Both of them will be pushing it to the absolute limit. But I wonder if all that fighting earlier on has cost certain drivers in this top 6 run in order tyre life, and also some body work that may be hampering the performance of the car. Well, Wojciech Swierdajczyk is still trying to fight his way past Isaac Doble. Well, he's normally got a Doble in his sights, albeit it's a younger member of the family today, as they make the way on around through turn number 8, and coming on through Isaac Doble right now, where he's no stranger to having to battle with drivers who are some of the veterans of the grid, and well, his age belies what is his years of veterancy in this series, having started all the way in the prime class and made his way all the way through to what is the pro class. And as they come out the corner right now with what is the final lap, the white flag waves, and it is now for Isaac Doble to try and hold on for one more lap as Wojciech Swierdajczyk looks on the inside to the outside, trying to go all the way round here in the battle for fourth place. They turn on in, they rub, they touch, and Isaac Doble does not wilt under the pressure as they come down towards Hollywood. And now Swierdajczyk here having to look one way then the other as we ride on board with the Audi RS3 driver in the number 80 and making the way down. He's going to try and look around the outside of the old hairpin, but is it going to work? And the answer is, well, he's going to try and commit to it and get Isaac Doble to go a little bit shallow and therefore not carry as much speed. He does so, but Doble knows what's coming, swings one way then the other. Swierdajczyk will now get all the way to the inside in towards France, and then going up into McLean's. He's going to go round the outside at 2 when they go into the corner. That Velocity's going to have a little bit more power on the brakes, but as they come through the right-hander and up towards what will be Coppice Bend, which Swierdajczyk does get ahead, has slightly better traction and takes full place as Isaac Doble tries to come back at him. But as they make the way onto the back stretch, it's a short run all the way down to the S's. Well, here's the man who leads, and as he makes his way through the last couple of quarters, he may have been denied pole position in qualifying right at the close by a number of his rivals, but he won't be denied victory in the first race of the season, because Luciano Whitford takes victory in race number 1 of the championship ahead of Adam Delmont, and Mikey Doble wraps up the top 3 with Wojciech Swierdajczyk 4th place behind, and there's Isaac Doble ahead of Jaroslav Sabula, Andrew Pike 7th ahead of Alex Meredith, with Tom Davidson completing a run of pros. Your prime winner is Kieran Smart for Track Scotland ahead of Ben Altrier and Nick Clemens. That's your prime top 3 all the way through to 12th. And well, we've had a bit of an instant further back, I do believe, but as well the drivers come on through, what about our AM victors, I hear you ask? Oh my goodness, and that is Joseph Doble into the barrel. We'll get a replay of that when we can, but Mark Sykes is your AM winner ahead of Matthew Jordan. And well, it's a next gen at 1-2, but it's next gen orange driver ahead of the next gen pink driver. But what a debut for Matthew Jordan, and Cal Murray in the end sneaks his way into a 3rd place finish for next gen green in the AM class ahead of Jonathan Collins. Well, how that all turned out, I'm not quite sure. Marcel Fritsch in the end is effectively a lap down at the close. I think he's been involved in a late instant, but most of our drivers are now through to the end of the race. In fact, Marcel Fritsch an entire lap down. That would have been for the contact of Lewis Delmont earlier on, but 35 starters, 35 finishers, most of them on the lead lap, and was they all cooled down and come their way back round to the pit lane. Well, for this man, Luciano Whitford, he avoided all the chaos in the early laps, got close to it, and then decided, right, now's my time to pounce. And what a well-timed attack there from the number 60 driver in the end, just deciding for the WR Maestro STR Motorsports team to simply make one move, and it was the move that needed to stick, and Adam Delmont right behind him there, but Adam Delmont definitely bearing his fangs this season, as has Mikey Doble, and it's only one race of the opening round. Kieran Smart there, what a drive from him, starting 17th on the grid and was gaining 7th place in the Prime class, snuck his way through ahead of Ben Alltree and Nick Clibbins, and well, Alltree and Clibbins both having good races in their own right. And Mark Sykes returning to the top step of the AM class there, but knowing he had a lot of hard work in order to do so. And well, perhaps the biggest surprise of them all being Matthew Jordan with a ferocious run through the field after a difficult qualifying session. But as we said, he's a quick learner and very quickly coming to terms with the fighting round in the number 86 with Cal Murray third place in that AM class. And well, an AM class full of battling, no doubt about it, from lights out to checkered flag. But with all the drivers into the pit lane, let's take a look at those race results subject to any stewards' inquiries. And here they are, ladies and gentlemen, for what was race number 1 of round 1 of the championship. Luciano Vitford then taking victory, the Dutchman, for World of Racing and STR Motorsports, ahead by half a second of Next Gen Green's Adam Delmont. Mikey Doble was third at the close for Double Sim Racing, number 1 driver there, still having a solid start and getting into the thick of it. With Wojciech Swierdowic's absolutely eager charges around Redgate corner, they put on a spectacle, no doubt about it, and in the end he was able to find fourth for Semper Racing, ahead of Isaac Doble for Double Sim Racing. Their brilliant fight all the way to the checkered flag. From the Englishman, it was then the fellow Polishman of Jaroslav Sabila for Semper Racing. Semper Racing definitely having a great return to form there with a return to the grid. Head of Andrew Pike for the Sim Racing Collective Esports, who after the early battles fell back to Semp and didn't really make progress from there. But still, he'll be happy with a top 10 finish, as will Alex Meredith for Whiskey Runners Racing with Next Gen, and also the second of the Sim Racing Collective Esports cars there of Tom Davidson, finishing in 9th place. Kieran Smart took 10th and took prime victory with it for Track Scotland, and the Scottish driver there enjoying a great start given how it all went wrong in qualifying, ahead of Ben Alltree, best to rest 11th for Full Tilt Motorsport, and then Nick Clibbins rounding off the top 3 there for the prime class for iRace Esports, and well, the Honda driver there, always one you can't count out, and demonstrating why with that valiant third place in class. Jamie Dory was 13th, and going with his door number there, it does seem as though the number 13 goes to the Next Gen Pink Trail wherever he goes, as do his teammates who finished 14th and 15th, and that was Lee Horn and Gavin Garner respectively. Alan McCain took 16th for iRace Esports, ahead of Goldwing's Duncan Rise, and then we saw the top 20 completed by William Guthrie, Conrad Kula in his debut, who took a very good 6th place in the Pram class, albeit not in the pace in qualifying, but just picking off the places one by one, and meanwhile JWM at Motorsports a respot doing the same to take 20th. Stuart Winers was 21st in a bit of a difficult first race of his season, ahead of Russell Fowler, and Fowler will be absolutely gutted for Rhino Esports, fighting for prime victory all the way from the start, but in the end an early instant cost him dear and put him all the way down the back of the field, but watch out for his charge in race number 2. Alexander Paulik took 23rd, ahead of your AM winner, who finished 24th on the road, but AM class victor there, Mark Sykes on Next Gen Orange, ahead of Next Gen Pink's Matthew Jordan, runner-up there on his debut, what a drive from him, and it was Matthew Addy who separated the AM podium finishers, with Cal Murray 27th there for Next Gen Green, and the number 14 driver as well enjoying a great race. Jonathan Collins just missed out on the AM podium, but took 28th, ahead of Michael Lees, with Craig Tilson wrapping up your top 30 for Rhino Esports, and then we did see outside the top 30, but let's not forget about them, Benjamin Gregory, Sam Smith, Joe Doble, and then a lap down apiece, Lewis Delman and Marcel Fridge. 35 starters, 35 finishers, 33 on the lead lap, ladies and gentlemen, and well, that was just race number 1 of our 3 races here at the Donington Park National Circuit. And we're going to be back in approximately what will be 7 to 8 minutes time for the build-up to race number 2 here in the Orange Lobby. Don't go anywhere, you won't want to miss it, that's a certainty. But as we leave you, we're going to leave you with some words from our title sponsor for this season, and that is Doble Motorcycles. We will see you very soon. Speaking of Mikey Doble Racing, if you'd like to support Mikey as he pushes it to the limit out on track, you can do so by following the Mikey Doble Racing Facebook page as seen on screen. Additionally, if you want to represent the 88 Army at a BTCC weekend, Mikey Doble Racing has some fantastic merchandise available just for you, as may be found either via the Mikey Doble Racing Facebook page or alternatively in the Doble Motorcycles store at dobledirect.co.uk. Don't miss out on being a part of the 88 Army today. And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. A little bit later than expected for the build-up to race number 2, but we are back nonetheless for the second race of the day in round 1 of Season 9 of the NXTCC. And we are here, of course, with our orange lobby in the iRacing series powered by Doble Motorcycles. Race number 1 was an absolutely superb race. There were 3 wides up and down the field. Battles that ran from lap to lap. Battles which also saw a few elbows get out, a few egos get bruised, and a few bits of body work, no doubt, also needed some repair work between the races. But as all our drivers now get themselves set and ready to go once again, we can definitely imagine everyone will be very eager to go on the attack and ready to try and pounce their way up the places in order to score some big points. But there's not too much we can tell in terms of 1 or 2 cars being the best out there here at the Donington Park National Circuit from race number 1, for the simple reason that whilst the Hondas in the end were able to strike strongly in qualifying versus the Audis, it was the Audis that came strong towards the end of the race. The Hyundai seemed to be in the middle of the pack, and the Hondas also seemed to have a little bit of an edge so long as they could stay ahead of the Audis or in the tow. So therefore, with how close the racing was, you can imagine we're going to expect plenty more close racing in our second race of the day. And well, this man Wojciech Swierdowicz, one of the many who absolutely enjoyed a fantastic race, taking 4th place in the end, but still I don't think he'll complain about that given how close the racing was and just pipping Isaac Doble to the post on the final lap. But so many of you in the YouTube and also the Facebook chat enjoying it out there, including Dan Thornton, also what was there, I do believe Daniel Queen, Andy Fox, Yusu Moon, and also I believe Lee Horn there in the Facebook chat, and Lee Horn on the grid there enjoying the racing, even though it's not a circuit, Donington Park circuit at least, that he's enjoyed perhaps as much as he would have liked to. And also Duncan Ryan there saying hello in the YouTube chat for a brief moment. He's of course racing out of the circuit, as you do see the Goldwing Motorsports driver out there currently. But we've still got more racing to come, no doubt about it. And as all of our drivers get themselves set once more, well, there's plenty more racing to unfold. There's no doubt about it. And everyone will be absolutely itching to go from lights out to checkered flag in this second race. Now, of course, at the end of this race, we do have what is only a reverse grid from 6th through to 12th. And we'll be doing the raffle draw for that, or the lottery bowl draw, I should say. And that lottery bowl is very much ready next to me at the content booth, ladies and gentlemen. So you will see the return of the Next Gen Racing powered by Sam Case's UK Lottery Bowl from all those seasons ago, and indeed it stayed with us all the way through. But with only 1.5 minutes left before we do go into what will be our second race, we would catch a word from one or 2 of our drivers. I don't know if we are going to be able to catch a word with them now, given how much they're getting locked in, but I think also a lot of our drivers here just very eager to get their heads down, and we understand that, and I think we're going to let them focus, and we are going to try and catch a word or 2 from one of our drivers when we do go into what will be our final race of the day. But as we do see Callum Murray make his way into the pit lane, a very quick skip to the pits. Well, he had a great race number 1, made some late gains there and fought his way towards the podium in the AM class. Meanwhile, Russell Fowler, and conversely in the Pram class, leading at the start of the race, but it all went backwards very early on, and we'll be hoping things go forwards from this point onwards, because he'll know that this next race is definitely going to be a tougher one, given how far down the order he is going to be starting from. But as he makes his way up there side by side, battling with, I believe, Yaroslav Sevilla, a little bit of knowledge to be gained there, running side by side with the 180 car. You can always take a bit of knowledge by running side by side with a rival, even if they are of another class, because every lap turned is a learning experience, if you will. And indeed, for our Pram drivers and our AMs, they're always learning, and they're looking one day to become pros, much like the rivals around them, as they have an absolutely brilliant little bit of side-by-side there going on through the what is the S's. But without further ado, ladies and gents, but with only 15 seconds left on the clock, well, the second race is almost here. Do put your predictions in the YouTube chat, who you think could potentially take victory. Remember, we will have success ballast now applied to our drivers over the course of this second race. They will be going into it, and, well, speaking of going into it, the checkered flag comes out in this practice session. It's time to go racing once again here at the Donington Park National Circuit. And as they make the way onto the grid, this is how they'll line up for the second race of the day, and it's exactly how they finish from race number 1. Luciano Whitford, from that victory in race 1, now takes 56.1 kilograms of success ballast into the car and will start on pole for race number 2. From the world of racing, STR Motorsports driver from the Netherlands, we come to the Englishman from NXTGEN Green of Adam Delmont, who'll be doing battle alongside him from the front row. Mikey Doble starts third for Doble Sim Racing, in the company his fellow NXTCC champion Wojciech Swerdajc for Semper Racing. And then we do have on row number 3, Isaac Doble starting 5th, making some progress in race 1, and only he'll want to make some more progress in race number 2, ahead of Semper Racing's Jaroslav Sabula. And, well, the 180 driver there will be looking to stay close to his teammate from the lights out procedure all the way to the flag. Andrew Pike starts 7th for the Sim Racing Collective Esports. Now he's going to want to have a little bit of a louder race this time round after what was a quiet race after the opening couple of laps. But then again, he'll be in the company of Alex Meredith for Whiskey Runners Racing with NXTGEN, and you can be certain the number 19 driver is not going to let the battles fall silent for Andrew Pike. Tom Davidson lines up behind his teammate for the Sim Racing Collective Esports in 9th place, ahead of Kieran Smart for Track Scotland, who snuck his way into lead of the Prime class, and he never looked back on it when he finished as the victor come the end of race number 1. He starts in 10th. From them, coming to what is row number 6, it'll be Ben Altrier for Full Tilt Motorsport, ahead of Nick Clemens for iRace Esports. And notice there, we've got the top 3 in the Prime class all lined up together from 10th through to 12th. We couldn't ask for a better combination. Jamie Dory starts 13th for NXTGEN Pink, ahead of teammate Lee Horn. And then we do have Gavin Gardner, teammates to the pair, started just behind him on 15th, ahead of Alan McCain for iRace Esports. And then have Duncan Rise starting there 17th for Goldwyn Motorsports, ahead of William Guthrie for Full Tilt Motorsport. And then we do have none other than Conrad Kula for World of Racing and STR Motorsports, head of Respot for JWM. They complete your top 20. Outside the top 20, starting 21st, is Stuart Winers for Track Scotland, ahead of Rhino Esports' Russell Fowler. Watch out for him. He's got a bone to pick with the rest of the field, and he's going to look to pick his way through the field faster than many. And then it's going to be Alexander Paulik, who starts 23rd for World of Racing and STR Motorsports. A bit of baptism by fire in race number 1, but I imagine he's going to try and make some progress in this race, because Mark Sykes, the AM victor from race number 1, will join for company for NXTGEN Orange. And then you do have the runner-up in the AM class from race 1 of Matthew Jordan, just behind, starting 25th for NXTGEN Pink. We'll then have in 26th Matthew Addy for NXTGEN Orange, ahead of Callum Murray for NXTGEN Green. Your third place and finisher is joined on the 14th row of the grid. Well, in fact, it's going to be Jonathan Collins who joins in that company for NXTGEN Orange. And then we do have Michael Lee for JWM, and Verano Esports' Craig Tillison who complete your top 30. Outside the top 30, starting what is 31st, is Ben Gregory for Full Tilt Motorsport, ahead of Sam Smith, the iRace Esports driver, having a bit of a frustrating first race of his season, and I'll be hoping that this race is a bit more grounded. And then it's going to be Joe Doble for Doble Sim Racing, number 11 driver, having a difficult race as well, but he's going to be ahead of Lewis Delmont for NXTGEN Green, the driver who ended up pointing the wrong way at Coppice on the opening few laps, but he's going to want to try and get things going the right way this time. And it'll be Marcel Fritsch, who starts 35th of 35 drivers for Verano Esports, and that is how your grid is going to line up. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we look back to the front of the field, and well, it's going to be some familiar faces towards the front, but this man starts on pole for the first time this season, Luciano Whitford, and alongside him will be the man who's getting accustomed to the front row already, Adam Delmont. Which will be leading out to turn 1? Will the lights go on? It's time to find out as it's going to be, without further ado, 1 red light, 2 red lights, 3 red lights, 4 red lights, 4 red lights. And it's lights down, away we go here for race number 2 at Donington Park National, as Luciano Whitford gets a brilliant start there in the Audi RS3. Look at Wojciech Swerdajc immediately cutting to the inside, covering off Delmont before they make the way towards Redgate Corner. On the outside is going to be what is none other than Jaroslav Sabila battling with Mikey Doble as they make the way on through, and in towards turns 2, 3 and 4 they go. The rest of the field now starts to make its way on down, but as they do, it's going to be a big long scrap of cars here as we do look to the blimp cameras. They make the way on down. Adam Delmont, they're being absolutely swarmed by Wojciech Swerdajc, and also that is going to be, I believe, Mikey Doble up the inside there as they cover on through. Where's the old hairpin? The rest of the field makes way through. A car goes a bit wide there. I believe that is Duncan Rise, who's taking a bit of a slow run at the old hairpin, but rejoins the running pack. And as they all now make the way up towards what will be the none other than McLean's corner. Well, right now it's going to be Doble and then Adam Delmont all fighting side by side, and Adam Delmont right now absolutely trying to hold on for dear life here as Wojciech Swerdajc and Luciano Whitford are just pulling away, and as they go too wide through Coppice Bend, we come back down to the lower cameras here, and we're still too wide between the two of them as they make the way down the back straight. Well, that Honda right now, it's got cold tyres, but once those tyres get warm, that Honda is going to be very hard to dislodge. And well, keeping in mind, of course, that Adam Delmont has got 48 kilograms of success ballast in that car. Mikey Doble absolutely charges past him. But as they make the way across the timeline towards the end of the first lap, it's Lucian Whitford who still leads ahead of Wojciech Swierdijk in second, then Mikey Doble third, ahead of Isaac Doble fourth, Adam Delmont in fifth, ahead of Andrew Pike sixth, then Jaroslav Stabila seventh, ahead of Tom Davidson in eighth, Alex Meredith and Ben Altria complete your top 10 with Altria being your prime leader, having a brilliant start. And well, Kieran Smart right now dropping a couple of places down to what is 13th and down to second in the prime class. We have had a drive-through penalty awarded for one car that has jumped the start. I've just had whispered in my ear. We'll try and get clarification as to which car that was. I believe it's Matthew Addy who's in the pit lane as a result of that, and therefore 7 a drive-through penalty for a jump start. But otherwise the other 34 drives all getting away cleanly or thereabouts. But as the battle starts to enrage a little bit further down, will Sam Smith, while the drivers had a difficult race one, trying to now pick his way up for the order in this second race of the day. Try to look around the outside of Lewis Delmont, and Delmont as well, the man who's going to do the deal with the devil here as he goes all in on the brakes versus what Cal Murray taps the rear of his teammate, and Murray going sideways there, and Cal Murray being speared off, just about missing the tyre barrier there. And well, I think he'll be grateful for that, but he won't be grateful to find out it's his teammate that sent him off into the distance. But as he rejoins there, he'll drop down to 5th place in the AM class. Jonathan Collins has also had a bit of a nightmare start there, and we'll try and get the understanding of what happens to Collins' race. But looking back, oh my goodness, and well, we just catch it in time, and Russell Fowler goes one way, and well, that is a big shock there as Russell Fowler rejoins. Car goes straight on. That's Alexander Paulik who rejoins there, and well, decides to take to the escape road. But as they do, we'll hold the phone. It's 3 wide. It's almost 4 wide down to turn 1. Into red gate they go. That's going to be Lee Horn in the inside of Kieran Smart and Alan McCain. McCain now on the outside. He's going to fight. He goes from 1 3 wide to another. That's going to be William Guthrie now, who decides to make his way up the inside of the pair of them. And as they make the way down in towards Hollywood and the grade occurs, well, Horn breaks away, but now it's Smart versus Guthrie. And Guthrie here, all on the inside now into the old hairpin. He's going to try and force the issue all the way into the uphill rise here. Oh, goodness me, that's a big shunt between himself and what is Stuart Winus. Winus gets sent all the way out, and well, he rejoins. Winus will rejoin there, and Guthrie tries not to gain any time as a result of it. But look at this. In fact, that's Kieran Smart being sent wide, and then meanwhile, Stuart Winus gets tapped there, and that's a tap from Wes Conrad Cooler's car. And was he makes way back on, correct ourselves there. It was none other than Kieran Smart who was given the elbow out by William Guthrie, and meanwhile, now it's going to be Kieran Smart who's sent sideways again, and things are getting a little bit too crazy now as everyone tries to calm it down, and suddenly the rest of the field comes up through and says no you don't, and that is going to be, I believe, Sam Smith, who's been sent all the way off into the weeds. But as we do look from what is outside the top 10 to back inside the top 10, well, the leaders come across the line, and now towards the back end of where's the top 10 here, this is Pike versus Davidson, Stabula and Meredith and Altria all together. And well, it looks like Ben Altria, they just wait on the inside as Andrew Pike right now just trying to abscond into the distance, but Yavsa Stabula says no you don't, and Tom Davidson says look at me, don't look at my teammate, as they make the way down through Hollywood. But coming all the way through, and Davidson all on the back of his rival here as we ride on board with the number 42 from the Sim Racing Collective Esports. He tries to fight with the steering wheel here, going around the outside, but Stabula just simply says to him, I've got the inside line, what are you going to do? And as they come on through and turn number 5 and up towards 6-7. Well, right now Davidson having to back off there. He's not going to be able to look for a move, but looking back for the rear of the number 42, well, that is Alex Meredith, who's looking right onto the back of him right now. And well, it does look as though Alex Meredith at this point in time looking quite feisty. He's got a lot of pace in the car, but still trying to find a way through as they make the way up towards what will be the back straight. And well, from them, Ben Altria, Jamie Dory, Gavin Collin, Nick Clewins, they're all queuing up here. It's a long line of cars, and they're all very eager to make the way inside the top 10. And remember, you want to finish inside where's the top 12 as a minimum in this race if you can, because then you've got a chance to be in that reverse grid. Ideally, you want to be 6 for higher, because then you guarantee that you're in that reverse grid regardless of what numbers pulled. But meanwhile, speaking of numbers pulled to numbers called, and is it the case that Lucian Whitford's number has been called here because they come onto the opening corner, lap number 5. Wojciech Swierdijk looks to go around the outside to the inside, can't quite find it on the cutback there. Whitford just covers him off, and I think Swierdijk goes a little bit too deep there, perhaps misanticipated the success ballast he does have in the car of about what is 32 kilograms. And as they come down to the old hairpin, well, Whitford right now for a driver's got 56 kilograms of weight extra in that Audi. He's not showing it too much, albeit he is being reeled in hand over fist, but he's been able to hold on here as we ride on board with your third place driver, Mikey Doble, who as he gives chase here, will Swierdijk to go look around the outside here in towards McLean's. Doble sees the doors open, he's going to try and sneak in here, but this Veloster, it doesn't quite have the traction of the Audi, so therefore he's got to be smart with where he gets his foot down. But of course he can't just carry the car out to the outside of the road, because otherwise he'll tap his Audi rival, and that will lead to being called to the steward's room. As they come out of Coppice corner right now, he's got to play the patient hunter game and roaring the way onwards and in towards what will be the final 2 corners here, and it's going to be Whitfoot defending against Swiradich, literally looking from one side to the other. Doble just gets boxed in here. He can't find a way through, but this will bring them all back towards Adam Delmont and Isaac Doble now as they head across that timeline. You can see the whole pack is now starting to come back together, and Doble over the back of Swiradich. Whitfoot on the outside. You can see Doble pulls the outside. Swiradich pulls to the middle of the road there to try and give himself some corner to turn through, but Luciano Whitfoot is trying to get them all to fight each other, and what he did so he can perhaps try and break away, but he's got a long way to go in this race before he is going to be able to try and make the breakaway. And in the meantime, they stay as they were as they come on down in towards turn number 4, and well, as they do on this 6th lap, there's plenty more laps before this is all said and done, and I can only imagine how long this battle is going to rage on for. And well, Andy Fox there saying in the YouTube chat, any odds where we get the yellow flag for a big one? Well, no big instance so far. There's been a few big shunts, but nothing that has drawn the ire or indeed the observations for our race director to need a yellow flag or a safety car, so therefore it does look as though everything relatively calm at the moment. But I think this could be the proverbial calm before the storm, although I wouldn't want to curse it as they all come on through it when it's turn number 8. But look at this pack right now. I mean, it's the top 5 separated by less than a second currently. They are all pushing each other along here as they make the way down, and right now the race leader Lucio Whitfoot under pressure once again here as it's going to be a run around the outside, and Whitfoot I think struggling there a little bit and going into the braking zone very, very trepidly, and as a result as they make the way out of the corner, unless he's picked up a slowdown, although I couldn't quite discern it, Wojciech Swiradich will take the lead, and here comes Mikey Doble. And Doble's going to look around the outside here in towards Redgate Corner. Whitfoot's going to make him try and go all the way round as they make the way in. And well, from there, Isaac Doble comes charging on in on the inside of Adam Delmont. And surely Swiradich now is going to be allowed to run away. And well, as they make the way through, I'll say it tells me that I think Whitfoot just simply missed a gear on that run down the back straight. And that's why he had to back off there. And Swiradich was able to overhaul him. But here comes Isaac Doble on the inside of Adam Delmont. It's going to be a classic move for the old hairpin. Too wide they go. But in the number 37 driver in the Honda manages to keep the youngster in the number 65 at bay. Andrew Pike, meanwhile, now says, well, it's my turn to shine. Comes up the inside into a Schwann's, and now around the outside of McLean's he goes. As he does so, is there enough space for him to try and make this move stick? The answer is thereabouts, albeit Isaac Doble's not going to give in as they come on towards the right-hander, where it is going to be there too wide all the way through, and out the corner they go, and still Andrew Pike is not giving up, and Yavsa Sabula behind him is now going to try and make it 3 wide. Well, this is going to be very tense. It's going to be terse, but this is what we love to see in the NXTCC as they come down. And Sabula right now trying to go for the Moses manoeuvre, but decides against it. As meanwhile, Isaac Doble goes all in there on the brakes. A little bit of tap there between himself and Pike, but Pike's able to put it back up on the sausage curve, and Isaac Doble just holds on to 5th place by the skin of his teeth as they make the way across the line. But coming down towards turn number 1, and well, still more to come here as now here comes Tom Davidson. He thinks about it, but then decides the one thing you don't do is go 3-1 with your teammate, and in towards turn 1. Andrew Pike stays out of Sabula for now, but I think Elsa Sabula is going to have a question of if, not if, but when he's going to look for another move. But as they make the way onwards, meanwhile, to give you an update further down the order in the AM class, Mark Sykes is your AM leader. He's currently 19th. As meanwhile, Lewis Delmont finds himself sent to the grass again. As soon as he makes any progress, ends up on camera. He seems to find the grass there, and I can imagine it's a bit of a commentator's curse right now as he rejoins, and he's reset all the way back down to 24th place as they make the way on through the corners. Meanwhile, further back, this is 2-1 between Jonathan Collins and Russell Fowler. Russell Fowler, you remember, was in what is the Rhino Esports Audi on the left of your pitch, and was sent spearing off coming out of Coppice Bend on the opening couple of laps. So Russell Fowler's race right now is in recovery mode again, and I think Andy Fox there right with regards to what happened to Luciano Whitfoot. I think it was a slowdown coming off of the apex of Coppice Corner on that lap where Swiradich found his way through it and was able to serve the majority of the slowdown before the S's, and that's why Mikey Doble had a difficult time trying to make his way through, albeit Mikey Doble did eventually pass him. But as the drivers make the one around, we say hello to Berry at racing. I believe that's Jonathan Berry, previous NXTCC driver, and I hope you're doing well, Jonathan. Well, from then we look back to Lee Horn here, who's having to battle side by side with William Guthrie. Guthrie's trying to go around the outside. Nick Clemens is pulling him along. And I wouldn't be surprised here if Horn's losing the place and perhaps picks up a slowdown of his own. He's having to serve in the 36, and well, the pictures would potentially shine upon that. But William Guthrie there, when then he gets back ahead of Nick Clemens thereabouts, they go to the second half of this race and coming on down through where it's turns 2, 3 and in towards 4. But William Guthrie slowly creeping up the order. Next place, an important one if he can take it to 12th. That's going to be Gavin Garner. He may have an eligibility to be in that reverse grid, but we'll have to wait and see what comes out of the Lottery Bowl. But meanwhile, ladies and gentlemen, I have heard that we have got a drive-through penalty that has been awarded to Lee Horde, and that is for a slowdown penalty that has not been fully served, so it has been upgraded to what is a drive-through penalty by the automated iRacing stewarding system. That's outside of the control of our race director, so Lee Horn will be absolutely fuming. Now he's got to come into the pits within the next 3 laps in order to serve that drive-through penalty, and it is a slowdown, very easy to pick up, and well, as a result, it now does mean that it's all going to be one of those situations whereby this race really is going to be a write-off, and he's just got to try and gain the places when he comes out the pit lane. But still, from him, let's come back towards the front of the field, and at the front of the field, well, Sweardite just started to pull away, but Mikey Doble now in second. It's also starting to put some daylight between himself and Whitford, but Whitford, meanwhile, has got Adam Delmont, who goes all in on the brakes here, and that Honda looks bold, but Whitford says, I can do it too, and he switches back to the inside here, and right now, that Audi, it may be heavy, it may be laboured, but the one thing it's not doing is struggling with the weight as they come down in towards the crater curves and in towards the old hairpin. They go too wide all the way through, and Luciano Whitford right now, well, I don't know what he was doing in his pre-season practice, but I can tell you one thing, and this is a prime Luciano Whitford, and Adam Delmont as well is absolutely going for it. It's too wide all the way through Starkeys and in towards McLean's, and as they come into the right hander, right now it's going to be behind Isaac Doe and Andrew Pyatt. They form too wide as well. It's 2 by 2, but it's not Noah's Ark. Don't turn to page 57 in your Bible unless it's the NXTCC Bible, because right now this is an absolutely brilliant chapter of racing that's unfolding here, and as they make the way on through Coppice Bend, we're rolling on through the right hander, and right now Luciano Whitford is just trying to keep everyone at bay. You can see Adam Delmont there flashing his lights, trying to get into the eyes of Whitford, but Whitford's only got eyes for one thing and one thing only, and that's finishing third. Onto the brakes they go. Isaac Doe with the inside here. Too wide they enter, too wide they exit. Albeit in the end, Adam Delmont makes sure that his rival doesn't have enough space to come on through. Whitford runs wide, they're carrying too much speed. Now everybody's going to come up behind him and look for an opportunity here. It's like a pack of seagulls after a portion of chips. And as they make the way down right now, it's 3 wide under braking into Redgate corner, and Jarrison Sabila thinks he can go through the middle of the two of them, then decides not to, but Isaac Doble and Andrew Pyatt now get on the back of him. But as they come on through here, absolutely pandemonium between our drivers as they roar the way through as the crane occurs, and Adam Delmont in the end finally establishes some control, but the problem is in trying to keep the baying pack of wolves behind. Well, now Luciano Whitford's got 6/10 ahead as they make the way up the hill, and well, as they roll the way through, this goes all the way back to William Guthrie, who's at the back of this in what is 13th place. Well, he's got his wish, which is he's been brought up to this battle, but now he's got to be tactical. He's got a car with no success ballast in it, so therefore he's got one of the lighter cars in this pack, but he's got to pick his way on through, starting with Jamie Dory and then subsequently Ben Trier. But as Gavin Gardner's made his way up into 10th place, he stuck his way through there. We didn't quite notice that of Kevin. As they make the way on through the corners right now, we're going to stay absolutely glued to this top 10 battle for the time being. It's absolutely fantastic to see, and we're making the way on through. They're everybody right now segwaying and serpentining left, right and centre, all looking for an opportunity, but Guthrie's got to be thinking, I've got to go soon, and the team will be on the radio to him for the simple reason that otherwise he's going to be absolutely stood there to a standstill, and well, he won't want to do that at all. But as they make the way on towards what will be turn at number 1, we're going down towards the braking zone here. It's all line astern for now, as meanwhile a bit further back we do have Sam Smith absolutely on a mission here to try and cut his way through the field, and Will Smith now up into 19th place, and what is 6th place in the Prime class. He's behind the Reese Watt machine, number 32, and Watt battling with Joe Doble, and Joe Doble's had a brilliant race given the fact he started all the way outside the top 30. He's been in 17th place here. Well, he's enjoyed some great fighting. He's making some progress, and after a race 1 which really was a race not to be remembered, as we briefly lost Reese Watt to the ether there. I can't quite tell where Reese Watt's disappeared to, unless that is an unexpected disconnection. If so, that is the equivalent of what is a technical failure, and that's going to be absolutely heartbreaking for JWM Motorsport. Well, right now Joseph Doble and Sam Smith fighting each other. Smith looking around the outside here, as I think they're expecting that Reese Watt's no longer in this race. Well, as they come through the right hander, well, and it's now going to be Ben Gregory who's catching up to the back of this, and Smith trying to go around the outside, and we'll all the way through. And coming up through that right-hander, where it's going to be what is Joseph Doble forcing Smith and Gregory to fight each other, and they're all over the back of each other here, where it's at the front of the field or further down. Everyone's absolutely fighting each other, and roaring the way towards the braking zone for turn number 9, where it's going to be in the middle of the road there for Joseph Doble, and Smith thinks about it, but thinks, okay, there's not really a space to go unless I'm going to spear him off the road, and well, that's only going to see him very quickly taken into what is the steward's room, and well, making the one towards another lap. They're running out of time, they're running out of distance, but right now, Joseph Doble, as much as he's made progress, he's also shown that other drivers aren't going to be able to make that same progress. But as they roar the way through turn 1, well, coming from then to Mark Sykes, he's over the back of Lewis Delmont, but he's got Duncan Moraes for company behind him, and then Marcel Fritsch and Craig Tillison, 2 AM drivers who had a dismal race number 1, but they've both made some progress in race number 2. And speaking of Craig Tillison, there he is, in a bit of a low, he got his 3rd place in the AM class, but carrying on here, it's Callum Murray and what is it, Matthew Jordan fighting over places further down the order. We do have an update with regards to Reese Watt and Jonathan Collins, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, as both of them have had disconnections, so therefore they're not in this race race currently. Consider that to be a retirement from this race. There's still plenty more distance to them in race number 3, albeit they'll be starting all the way from the back of the field. But right now, the big battle that is playing itself out here with what is 3 laps to go come the end of this lap is the fight for who's going to be on the 3rd spot of the podium overall. Will it be Luciano Whitford, Adam Delmont, Jaroslav Sabula, Andrew Pike, Tom Davidson, Isaac Doble, all the way through to what is Conrad Kula in 15th place? And you can see there, look at the long pack of cars as they make the way down. I am grinning here in the commentary booth for the simple reason we have not seen it this close in some time. It is close to the NXTCC, but to see what is there, the best part of 13 cars fighting over a podium position, with one car at the front of it being a little bit chubby on the weight by comparison, given the success balance it has, it's just causing a long queue of cars, and everyone doesn't want to fight, but they want to fight. And Jamie Dory right now fighting his way to the inside there at turn 3 in towards 4, but Alex Meredith side by side as they come down through the right-hander. So right now the 2X teammates go toe to toe. Dory goes very sideways there. There's a bit of contact, but Meredith in the end gives it the time to rejoin. But Nick Clemens now gets onto the back of this, so this is going to start to split the field up as they make the way up the rise in towards turn number 7. And well, everyone there takes a brief breather, knowing it only takes one small mistake and it can completely upset the apple cart for every driver. Meanwhile, Benjamin Gregory all over the back of Sam Smith in the battle for 5th place in the Prime class. Can't find his way through at the moment, tries to go for the cutback there, coming on through McLean's, and well, looks at the end to try and go in towards what will be Coppice Bend. Can he find it? No, he can't. Has to back off there and just wait his turn. But from them all the way back to Whitford in the lead of this battle for 3rd was the leaders make the way across the timeline. You'll see it very briefly in the foreground of your camera. There's Swear Dorridge, who's already leading by 2.5 seconds off of Mikey Doble, and well, Doble is falling backwards, not closing at the moment. And then Whitford in that 3rd place, and everyone going on to what is the penultimate lap here, lap 15 of 16. And well, this race number 2, a very different complexion to it right now, and you would think it was the Tour to Donington Park if we were to use the Tour de France analogy, in the fact they're all running together as a long pack. But right now we're waiting to see if anyone can make the break or try to make those places with this pack as they roar the way down to turn number 4. Or indeed, another analogy, you could say this is becoming the Luciano Whitford train, in reference to the Jarno Trulli train of the Formula 1 years. But right now Whitford is putting on a stellar job, and this is going to be an early candidate for what will be one of the drives of the season if he pulls off this 3rd place. I'm putting it out there now, albeit now that I've said it, I'm sure I've put the commentator's curse on it. But as they make the way out to what is turn number 7 in towards 8, the World of Racing STR Motorsports driver from the Netherlands right now is going all in on this one, and I don't think Adam Delmont's got much to respond, because remember, Delmont is running what is the 2nd highest success balance here. Whitford's got the most at 56.1 kilograms, but meanwhile Delmont has got 48 kilograms there, and that Honda needs to be weightless technically in order to get the most out of it. It will struggle in those acceleration zones even more so, particularly out the old hairpin for the 2nd half of the lap as Delmont runs wide there, and that run wide is going to cause him to lose some momentum as they come down the start finish straight. Well, here they go, the white flag waves, and as they roar the way in towards turn number 1, it's going to be Delmont under the pressure from Sabula. Sabula looks around the outside then in towards Redgate Court and decides to go for the cutback, as Andrew Pike sits behind him there and waits for an opportunity. Delmont runs wide again, so Delmont under some pressure. The tyres falling off a cliff, that's a big question, as meanwhile Joseph Doble on the inside here always Benjamin Gregory to try and take another place. He's going to make his way through, and from that we've got 2 wide coming on down through what is the Crater Curves, and that is Guthrie versus Meredith for 12th place. That's important for Guthrie. He's wanted this because he knows it can get him into that reverse grid order, and as they make the way on through with Starkeys, well, from them now coming back into that top 5 battle, Adam Delmont still under absolutely tremendous pressure from Jaroslav Sabula, and as they make the way up the rise in towards what will be turn number 8, Delmont and Sabula side by side here coming through the corner, and well, it looks like Delmont's ahead. Now Pike's trying to make his way into this. He's trying to make it a menage a trois as they head on towards what will be turns 9 and 10, but from them, well, he may not have won race number 1, but in race number 2 he's been absolutely faultless to a T, and Wojciech Swierdajc returns to victory as he crosses the line there for Seb Race ahead of Mikey Doble, who's your runner-up, and Luciano Whitford will complete his run to 3rd place, and a phenomenal drive there ahead of Adam Delmont and Andrew Pike to complete your top 5. Tom Davidson, Isaac Doble, Gavin Garnett, Jaroslav Sabila, Jamie Dory completed your top 10. Ben Altrier took victory in the Prime class of Full Tilt Motorsport ahead of William Guthrie, Alex Meredith and Conrad Kula, who finished 2nd place there for the Prime class of World of Racing STR Motorsports. Well done to him ahead of Michael Lees, who was your 3rd place finisher in what was the Prime class. Marcel Fritsch in all of this took victory in the AM class ahead of Mark Sykes. We'll get a replay of that shortly, how that happened, but congratulations to Marcel Fritsch for Rhino Esports, who took class victory ahead of the Next Gen Orange driver, and Craig Tillerson making a double podium in the AM class for Rhino Esports with a 3rd place in the AM class with 27th overall. But goodness me, ladies and gents, but with that, all 33 of our remaining drivers have already made it to the checkered flag, and well, on that cool down lap, Wojciech Swierdajc will be very happy at the fact that he's just been able to walk away with this race over the distance. Mikey Doble will be happy with that runner-up spot after having to fight his way past Luciano Whitford, and Whitford, meanwhile, absolutely delivering a phenomenal defensive drive and making that Audi so wide you can't pass it. And in the end, Adam Delman, Andrew Pike, Tom Davison, just name a couple of drives, did not know how to find a way past an Audi that was glued to third place here in race number 2 of the day. But let's take a quick look back how Marcel Fritsch took the lead of the AM class on the final lap, ladies and gentlemen. Here's the quick replay. And this was it, and it was going down the start-finish straight as they made the way onto the final lap, and as they roared the way down in towards what was the braking zone up the inside there. An absolutely brilliant run, all in there on the brakes, and for the number 7 driver getting the job done nice and easy there. And I don't think Sykes having a response, but remember, Sykes does have the maximum success ballast in the AM class of what was, I believe, 25 kilograms of success ballast to carry into this race, and that will have aided Fritsch. But then again, you've got to be in the right place to capitalise on it, and Marcel Fritsch doing exactly that. Well, as we do return to your live circuit side pictures, ladies and gentlemen, all drivers in the pit lane. So let's walk you through those race results subject to any Stewards inquiries, and here they are. After a fantastic 16 laps of racing, Wojciech Swierdowicz taking victory in race number 2 of round 1 of the championship for Semper Racing by 3.3 seconds over Double Sim Racing's Mikey Doble. Luciano Whitford there, 3rd place, and into his victory from race number 1, the World of Racing STR Motorsports driver absolutely glued to the podium, and the only way you're getting it off of him, I think, is going to be by prying him off, albeit Adam Delman for NXTGEN Green and the Sim Racing Collective esports pair of Andrew Pike and Tom Davidson, or the Honda army of the trio there, none of them being able to pry Whitford off of the podium. 7th place went the way of Isaac Doble for Doble Sim Racing, who found himself in the late stages fighting just as much to hold on to his position from Gavin Carter for NXTGEN Pink and Semper Racing's Yaroslav Sabula, and Jamie Dory completing the top 10 there for NXTGEN Pink. In a quiet drive compared to his teammates, but Jamie Dory being quite Turkington-esque earlier on this season, in reference to Colin Turkington, one of his touring car idols, in picking up the key points nice and early on. Ben Altrier took Pro and victory with an 11th place overall, best of the rest, and for Full Torque Motorsports driver, he'll be very happy with that, ahead of his teammate William Guthrie, who fought his way through the field to finish in the last of the potential reverse grid positions. Alex Meredith took 13th there for Whiskey Runners Racing with NXTGEN, and a bit of a difficult race. They'll be a bit upset he's missed out on the potential reverse grid, but still, 13th place isn't a bad place to start from and picking up some points. Conrad Kula taking his first Pro-Am podium of the season for World of Racing with STR Motorsports. Congratulations to him. And that 2nd place in the Pro-Am class was followed up by your 3rd place Pro-Am finisher, Michael Lees, who completed the overall top 15 for JWM Motorsports and took the last of the overall points. Nick Clemens, Sam Smith, Joseph Dole, Benjamin Gregory and Kieran Smart completed your top 20, and outside the top 20 there, Lewis Delman 21st in a race where every time he made progress, it quickly became regress when he was experienced to some contact, but ahead of Duncan Rise there for Goldwyn Motorsports, and then coming on to your AM winner, Marcel Fritsch, with that pass on the final lap going into Redgate Corner for Rano Esports, taking his first win of the season as he tries to defend his AM crown from Season 8, ahead of Mark Sykes, a previous AM champion, runner-up there for NXTGEN Orange. For making it a 1-2 so far for himself over the course of the 2 races, and between them and Craig Tillotson were the Pro-Am finishers of Russell Fowler and Alan McCain. Speaking of Craig Tillotson, 3rd place finish in the AM class there for Rano Esports, and he's going to have a big grin on his face to have his first podium of the season nice and early. The top 30 was completed by Alexander Paulik, Stuart Wynis and Matthew Addy, and then going on to what was outside the top 30, but let's not forget about them. Cal Murray, Matthew Jordan, Lee Horn, they were all your finishers on the lead lap. 33 finishers, ladies and gentlemen, and 2 non-finishers in the form of Reese Watt and Jonathan Collins, both having technical issues and having to bring the cars in to the pit. So 35 starters, 33 finishers, all of our finishers on that lead lap, and what a race number 2. One definitely not to forget. But of course, ladies and gentlemen, we've still got more to come in the fact as we now make our way into what will be race number 3. But of course, to get ourselves to race number 3, we just have one big question. And that is, of course, what is going to be our reverse grid for race number 3? And well, as we cut to the commentary booth, good evening to you all. And I hope you're all doing well this fine evening. And we're absolutely enjoying the racing right now. We're back here and we're back with the infamous Lottery Bowl for NXTGEN Racing. In this bowl are the numbers 6 through to 12. And what I'm shortly going to do is close my eyes, give them a shuffle and draw just a single ball out of the bowl. Not 2 this season, just a single one. And these numbers, of course, from between 6th and 12th, they represent, we could reverse the grid anywhere between 6th and 12th for the final race of the day. So without further ado, let's get to it. And there's the shuffle. And our first number of the season is going to be All fair and square, it's a top 10 reverse grid because the number 10 has been drawn and Jamie Dory will be your pole sitter for the final race of the day. He'll have the lowest amount of overall success ballast, but he'll have the highest chances from the front of the field being able to try and run away to victory. But will he be able to do it? Well, only time will tell in race number 3, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll be back for that and plenty more racing in approximately 10 minutes time. And of course, we will leave you firstly with these words from our title sponsor for this season, and that is none other than what is Doble Motorcycles. We will see you very shortly. Speaking of Mikey Doble Racing, if you'd like to support Mikey as he pushes it to the limit out on track, you can do so by following the Mikey Doble Racing Facebook page as seen on screen. Additionally, if you want to represent the 88 Army at a BTCC weekend, Mikey Doble Racing has some fantastic merchandise available just for you, as may be found either via the Mikey Doble Racing Facebook page or alternatively in the Doble Motorcycles store at dobledirect.co.uk. Don't miss out on being a part of the 88 Army today. And we are back once again, ladies and gentlemen, for our final race of this evening for round 1 of Season 9 of the NXTCC Championship, powered by Doble Motorcycles, brought to you on iRacing, and you are tuning in to the Orange Lobby. Now, we're not too far away from going green flag racing once again, and, well, a top 10 reverse grid awaits us for what will be the final race of the season, and, well, none other than what will be Jamie Dory is going to be the man who sits on top of the pile of cars as he gets himself ready to go. And, well, what better way than let's get a word with the man himself. If he is available is the big question. I think he is. Let's grab a quick word with Jamie Dory. Can we get a word from the man in the car as he makes his way on through? Let's get a patch through to the car and say hello to Jamie. Jamie, have you got 5 seconds for a quick chat?
Yeah, I've got 5 seconds.
Jamie, quick questions to yourself. Firstly, 2 races that have definitely been a bit up and down, but looks as though you're fighting your way out the field. A P10 finish in race number 2. Quite a happy result?
Yeah, I mean, the car doesn't really seem to suit this track, but yeah, it's not bad. It's just scoring points, really. That's the best thing.
Well, scoring points, or as Tingram would say, feeling a bit pointsy, and there's a big opportunity for you to score some points in race number 3 in the fact you're starting on pole.
Yeah, I mean, put it this way, I don't think I've got the pace in the car, and with the driving caliber this season, I think you're probably going to see the biggest Elantra I think has ever existed.
Well, that's absolutely fair. To be fair, we look forward to seeing how wide you can make that Elantra, and with that, we're going to leave you to it. Good luck for race number 3.
Cheers, Paul. Have fun.
So hearing it there from Jamie Dory, ladies and gentlemen, and his plan is to make that Elantra as wide as humanly possible as he gets some practice there batting with one of the Doble Sim Racing machines. Can we get a word with one of our other drivers out there in the meantime? I think we might be able to. Let's see who we've got a chance to have a chat with. Can we potentially get a word from somebody out there who might be right in the thick of it as well? And I think we might be able to get a word with Adam Delmont if we can get a patch through to the car very quickly. We do have a little bit of time, and well, let's jump on board with the man who's always normally got time to talk to us, and let's see if we can grab a very quick word with Adam. And as we get a patch through to his car, Adam, you got time for a quick word?
Hello, Paul. Yes, by all means.
Adam, you've been right at the front of the field for the first 2 races after a brilliant lap to put you on that front row as well. It's been good racing so far. How have you been feeling about it?
Oh, good, mate. Yeah, racing's been super close, super, intense, but enjoyable. Kind of a bit disappointed I've not managed to scrape a win. Obviously, bagging pole, but be there or thereabouts. So you're always in. As long as you're in fight, it's a good crack, like.
Oh, most definitely. But of course, for this final race of the day, we invert the top 10, so you start a little bit further back in a Honda that's got a lot of weight. What can we expect from you in this one?
Oh, I mean, I'm going to be trying to push forward, obviously. I'm a little bit lighter than last race, so I'll try and push forward. But main thing is try not to do anything too silly. I don't want to undo the decent results that I've had so far in one silly mistake. So I might have to show a bit of patience here or there. But if there's a chance of anything, I will go for it as always.
Well, fair play to you, Adam. Well, with that, they say patience makes perfect, but also makes perfect is letting you go racing. So we'll see you on the grid very shortly.
Cheers. Thank you, Paul.
So with that, ladies and gentlemen, we've caught a word from some of our drivers. A very quick word there from Jamie Dory and Adam Delmont, 2 of the big names on the grid. But it is time to make our way to that grid for the final time today. And, well, who is going to be the winner come the end of it? Let's find out. So the drivers make the way onto the grid. This is how they'll line up for the final time in round number 1. It is Jamie Dory who takes the top 10 reverse grid ahead of what is Jausa Sabula. The next-gen pink driver will know that, as he mentioned only moments ago, he's got to make that Hyundai Elantra as wide as humanly possible. But conversely, Jausa Sabula for Semper Race will be very eager to try and make his way past quickly, given he's got that Audi RS3 that's quick off the line. Behind them is going to be another Audi Hyundai pairing of Gavin Garner in the Audi for Next Gen Pink, and given the performance he put in race number 2, he made some great progress, and you would imagine that he's going to be looking to try and jump into the lead himself, but he'll be in the company of the Hyundai Veloster of Isaac Doble for Doble Sim Racing, who's definitely proven he can be just as defensive as he can be offensive, and well, he will be one to watch out for, no doubt about that. On row at number 3, you'll have the pairing of Tom Davidson for the Sim Racing Collective Esports and his teammate Andrew Pite. The two Honda drivers will do battle once again and make the progress as far as they can. But then Adam Delmont started 7th place for Next Gen Green. Now he's got a bit less weight in the car in that Honda, and that's going to make him feel a little bit more positive potentially in what he's able to achieve. Luciano Whitfoot will start in 8th place there, and the World of Racing with STR Motorsports driver will know that he's got a little bit less weight in the car, but still an 8th place start is going to be difficult to make progress from unless he gets a great start. Mikey Doble starts 9th there for Doble Sim Racing in the number 1 car, and can he make his way into the top 5? Can he make his way to a podium? Well, he'll be eager to do so, but also another man who'll be eager to do so is Semper Racing's Wojciech Swierdowicz, who'll give him close company from P10 on the grid. Outside the top 10, starting 11th. No reversal here. We now return to how they finished in race number 2. It is your Pro-Am pole sitter and also best the rest driver, Ben Altrier for Full Tilt Motorsport, ahead of William Guthrie, his teammate. Alex Meredith starts 13th for Whiskey Runners Race with Next Gen, ahead of Conrad Kula, the World of Race and STR Motorsports driver, who surprised everybody with that 2nd place finish in the Pro-Am class in race 2. But can he go for victory now in the final race of the day? He'll be in the company of Michael Lees for JWM Motorsports, and Nick Clemens is not too far behind for iRacing Esports. That is a grid of Pro-Ams there who'll all be nipping at each other's heels from start to finish. Sam Smith also gets involved there for iRacing Esports, ahead of Joseph Doble for Doble Sim Racing. Number 11 driver, they're having a great race too to make his way all the way from 31st to 18th, but he knows there's still more work to be done. And then completing your top 20 is Ben Gregory for Full Tilt Motorsport and Kieran Smart for Track Scotland. Two drivers have had difficult races, but they've still got places they can make. We then do have, started 21st, Lewis Delmont for Next Gen Green, ahead of Duncan Marias for Goldwyn Motorsports. Then it'll be your AM pole sitter and your winner from race 2 of Marcel Fritsch for Verano Esports, who managed to steal away the victory for Mark Sykes on the final lap of the previous lap. Could we see the roles reversed this time round in race number 3 by the Next Gen Orange driver? If he can't do it, Russell Fowler for Verano Esports and iRacing Esports' Alan McCain went to the small buffer before Craig Tillerson from Verano Esports, who took his first podium of the season in the AM class in the last race. Well, from P3 in the AM class, 27th on the grid overall, can he potentially go for the AM victory in this one to wrap up the day? He'll have the company of Alexander Paulik alongside him there, the number 32 World of Race and STR Motorsports driver from Germany, who will know that compared to his teammates, it's been a bit of a dismal day so far, so therefore he's got to arrest the rod. And if not, Stuart Winus for Track Scotland and Matthew Addy in the 777 for Next Gen Orange will be very eager to do so as well. And we do say hello there to Mr. Ben Gibbons, who I believe is cheering on Matthew Addy there, your 777 driver. You then have on row number 16, Callum Murray for what is Next Gen Green in the company of Matthew Jordan for Next Gen Pink. Two drivers had difficult race 2s after great race 1s. Can they get back on track? Because Lee Horn for Next Gen Pink and Reese Watt for JWM Motorsport will be looking to do the same after Watt's retirement in race 2, and also that retirement, the unexpected one for Jonathan Collins. He starts 35th of 35 drivers there for Next Gen Orange. So that's how the grid will be set, ladies and gentlemen. And well, that grid is practically ready and ready to go. We're only 10 seconds away from the lights going on for the final time today. It's Dory on the left, Sabula on the right. Once teammates in Season 8, now fierce rivals once again as it's Semper Racing versus Next Gen Pink. But which of these two teams will come away victorious? Well, here we go then, ladies and gents. When the lights go on, it's 1 red light, 2 red lights, 3 red lights, 4 red lights, 5 red lights. And it's lights out and away we go as they roar the way off the line and down towards turn number 1. And as they do, Yeltsin Sabina gets a brilliant start. Dory immediately falling backwards there as the Audi moves into lead. Gavin Garner playing defence there in the middle of the road as they make their way through the opening corners. And Tom Davidson there getting ahead of Andrew Pike, his teammate, who just simply tucks in behind. And they hold formation as they make their way through the corners. Down in towards what will be the Craner curves they go. And as they do, there's been a bit of an instant further back. I believe some brake dust being kicked up there as the blimp camera shows you as the field segues its wound down. A couple of side-by-side moments there of Wojciech Swierdowicz trying to try and hold off Mikey Doble. Does so there to the inside of what is the old hairpin. A couple of drivers going a little bit deep out the corner, but nobody running wide. Brilliant driving from all the drivers thus far. And we'll get a bit scrappy there in the midfield as Conrad Kula trying to hold off what is the charge of Michael Lees and Nick Clemens just behind them as they make their way up the hill and towards McLean's. And well, as we come down towards this battle right now, Michael Lees all over the back of Conrad Kula with Clemens, Joseph Doble and Benjamin Gregory holding him close behind as they roar the way in towards the braking zone for Coppers. Kieran Smart there on the inside trying to fight his way past Lewis Delmont, but he's going to need to be a little bit closer than that if he wants to get the move done, because Lewis Delmont saw it coming as Marcel Fritsch battling there for the AM lead with Mark Sykes. They're 2 wide coming on down, and Sam Smith thinks about intervening here and trying to make it a freeway Honda moment. But as they come on down, it's going to be where's Mark Sykes on the inside there. Marcel Fritsch just rolling through, and Mark Sykes will take the lead of the AM class there, but he does have to pull off. I believe there was a corner cut, and that's going to lead to giving the place back, and Marcel Fritsch retakes the AM lead. But as the field makes his way down, will still there's more to come as Jonathan Collins has had a brilliant start. He's all the way up to 29th already, as meanwhile Alan McCain there also gets involved. We did briefly also see what was a bit of a dive there from Stuart Winus into Redgate corner, which has put him up to 24th. So it's all happening here further down as you've got Prime Drives trying to pick the way past the Anfield. Flash of lights there from Sam Smith. He's not too happy about the way this is playing out, but I think he's going to settle down. Oh my goodness, what on earth has happened there? That's Kieran Smart pointing in the wrong direction, and well, I think a couple of drives there have been sent a long way off the road. We'll get you an update on that when we can, ladies and gentlemen. Meanwhile, Yaroslav Sabula is just running away right now with Jamie Dory giving chase, but Dory right now is a bit too far back to really get involved, and Gavin Gardner in the 3rd place position, where he's got Isaac Doble, Tom Davidson and Adam Delwood for company as they make their way onto the back stretch with Andrew Pike and Luciano Whitford. I'm going side by side here, coming out of Coppice Bend on this second lap, and right now it's going to be a horse race here in terms of who do you put your bets on, and Luciano Whitford putting his bets on what was Adam Delmont, but here they go under braking. It's going to be Adam Delmont that goes all defensive there, and where he talked about the fact he's going to give it his best. He's had 2 great results so far, and he's looking to make it a hat-trick of results here as they come down towards lap number 3. So after 2 laps, it's Yaroslav Sabino who leads ahead of Jamie Dory, followed by Gavin Gardner. Isaac Doble is in 4th ahead of Tom Davidson, with Adam Delmont close behind in 6th place. Luciano Whitford in 7th, although I say that Adam Delmont has gone very, very deep, missed his braking point entirely as he tries to rejoin, but rejoins into the pack of cars and gets the elbow back out there as he now rejoins. So that's going to be Whitford up to 6th now, ahead of Pike, with Wojciech Swerdijk in 8th, ahead of Mikey Dover, and Adam Delmont drops to 10th, with Best the Rest 11th is still your prime leader, who started the pole, Ben Altrier, as Altrier's had a bit of a quiet start here and just enjoying what is a good run thus far. But as the drivers all come and wind the way up towards what will be McLean's this time around, will further back Nick Clemens is all over the back of Lewis Delmont. These two have had a brilliant start. They've both made some great places early on, and they're pushing each other forward here to chase after Michael Lees and Conrad Kula, who are the fighting drivers for what is the 2nd and 3rd spots on the prime podium. We can see Lewis Delmont there having to do a bit of defensive driving to make sure that Nick Clemens doesn't find his way through, and Joseph Doble as well looking quite vulnerable, as Conrad Kula is in turn having to fight with Michael Lees here, and this is for 2nd place of the prime class. Kula's going to be looking on the inside. Lees comes across. It's going to get very, very testy, where in the end Michael Lees is given the space as Lewis Delmont meanwhile absolutely carves his way into the inside. You could call him the diving Delmont, given the fact that's a manoeuvre that we've seen with Adam Delmont a number of times, and like father like son they say, and well in the end Lewis Delmont making his way out the places there, and Joseph Doble now has to go 3 wide with the pair of them, of what is there Joseph Doble and Nick Clemens and Lewis Delmont, but in the end Lewis Delmont does clear them. Joseph Doble now made to fight, but it's going to be Delmont who goes deep there Redgate corner, and here comes Benjamin Gregory who picks his way free, picks off Nick Clemens there, or does he? He's going to look to the inside here into Hollywood, but as they come down in towards the crater curves, he's down the outside, back to the inside here under braking. They're practically 2 wide at the apex, the old hairpin. A big, big sideways moment there for Joseph Doble. I think getting it wrong under braking. I didn't see if there was any contact there, so Joseph Doble will lose the place, and heading up towards what will be McLean's this time around, well, Joseph Doble falls out of the picture, releasing Stuart Winus into the fray, and all the way they go in towards what is McLean's corner, and it's still 2 wide there between Gregory and Clemens, albeit I think Benjamin Gregory finally gets the move done up into 5th place of the prime class, and Stuart Winus now comes up the inside, and what was looking very good for Nick Clemens looks to be now going backwards very quickly for what is the number 13 driver. Stuart Winus flashing his lights, they're trying to get into Gregory's head and saying, remember me, the one who you took the prime championship off of season 8. Well, right now Gregory won't be looking behind, he'll be looking forward, but Russell Fowler meanwhile steamrolling his way into what is the Essex chicane, gets a little bit of a love tap there from Joseph Doble. They just about survive it as they head on to lap number 5, but it is getting very close as well from them in the Amley battle. Marcel Fritsch holding off Mark Sykes now, but he's on the back of this fight, and I think that's only going to push him backwards towards Sykes and Jonathan Collins, who has got Lee Horn going up the inside of him here, but Collins right now trying to chase after what is the 2 leaders in the AM class, but I think he's going to be interrupted for a brief moment as they don't give us a breather whatsoever, these drivers, as they roar the way through. As they come down, where it's Collins and Horn as they roll their way in towards the old hairpin. Horn on the outside to inside there, as I almost get my own control the wrong way round, and as they roll the way through, well right now Jonathan Collins falls back there, but I think he recognises that Horn's not his target, it's that his target Sykes and Fritsch, and he needs to use Horner in order to move him further up the order. But as we look from them, we look back to the leaders, and well, Jamie Dory quite recently took the lead of what was excuse me, this race back from Yauso Sabula, and that was on lap number 4. And well, the big question, so you might be asking, is exactly how was that move made? And here's the quick replay to explain the story. And well, this was a mistake from Yauso Sabula coming out of Coppice Bend, ran wide, and Dory in the end, well, Sabula having to give the time back. He only gained time effectively by running wide initially, but decided to pull off racing line, and Jamie Dory retaking the lead there. So a small mistake from Sabula, but he seems to be gaining the gap. We return just at the time for Sabula to say, mate, no mistake, I'm back here to stay. Dory, meanwhile, says, okay, it's time for me to play as well. And as they come down through the corners, well, right now, Dory absolutely on the attack as they roar their way in towards what will be the old hairpin. Side by side, they come down. It's the battle of where's the Elantra on the outside versus the Audi on the inside. Dory versus Sabula, and in the end, it falls in the way of Dory just about there as he gets back head out the old hairpin. But Jamie Dory right now showing no sign of wilting here. And well, you can imagine that right now, the number 13 drivers he's talked about in previous interviews in season 8, victories come hard and fast when you go for them, but they're also very rare when you've got such a competitive field. And right now, the next gen peak driver knows, well, he's got a golden opportunity to go for victory. He's not going to squander it. And if anything, with this battling, it's bringing the rest of the field to catch up. And as they make the way down towards what will be the S's this time, well, 6 laps complete come the end of this one. You've still got plenty more laps to go. And I can tell you right now, with 10 more laps to go after this one, it's going to be easier said than done for Jamie Dory to try and bring this one home as they make the way onto lap number 7. You can see the rest of the field behind all gradually queuing up here. And on the rear of the picture, that is Tom Davidson versus Adam Delmont versus William Guthrie. And also Wojciech Swierdowicz getting involved there. Swierdowicz on the inside, Davidson on the outside. Meanwhile, Adam Delmont trying to go all the way to the inside here in the battle of the two Hondas. That is going to give some breathing room to Wojciech Swierdowicz, who will now start to see a bit of life in this as he makes his way into his 7th place. Delmont drops to 8th. Davidson drops to 9th. And William Guthrie all over the back of this right now thinks, okay, can I get involved a little bit more given the fact that Guthrie started outside the top 10. You'll remember he started in 12th place, but he's made some progress and now heading up towards what will be McLean's this time around. Guthrie's close, but not quite close enough to make a move here. He's just having to wait his turn, but in waiting his turn, well, from them, we look back to what is your AM 2nd place driver, and this is now Jonathan Collins, and Jonathan Collins has made his way ahead of Mark Sykes and will gain in the place all the way in towards what will be the 2nd place spot of the AM class, so 26th overall. Mark Sykes has fallen a bit further back, and Cal Murray now is attacking versus Mark Sykes. Remember that Sykes has got a lot of success ballast in the car, and as they roll the way through that right-hander, well, Callum Murray moving up into 3rd there. Classic moving to Coppice Bend, but here comes Sykes back on him as the next-gen green driver on the right of your picture fights for the next-gen orange Honda on the left of your picture to battle the two Honda Civics, and onto the brakes they go, and Callum Murray takes that place there off of the 499 and, well, moves up into a happy 3rd, but can he go a bit further in that AM class? That'll be his hope. Has he got the time to? Meanwhile, further back, Matthew Jordan here, who we ride on board with as the sun gradually sets off in the distance. Well, next-gen pink driver not sunsetting his race right now as he looks up the inside of Craig Tillotson. That's a very big lunge there, and well, that's a big set of brakes to go with a very brave driver. Albeit Matthew Jordan goes all in, Craig Tillotson sees it coming and says, okay, I'll give you the space, but I'm not going to give you the place. And as they come down towards what will be the old hairpin, Craig Tillotson gets back ahead, but from then we've got to come back to the lead battle because Dorian Sabula has absolutely ramped up a notch here. We're losing a Whitfoot right behind, and Whitfoot having an absolutely phenomenal run of this race so far, having started from what was 8th place on the grid. He's already up into 3rd and all over the back of this, but Dory right now and still trying to hold on as much as he possibly can as they make the way down this back stretch. And when we ride on board and look back from the rear of your lead car, the lead number 13, as they come through right into left, and well, as they come out of the S's, there's going to be another 8 laps to go as they cross that timeline. 8 complete, 8 to go. And right now for Jamie Dory, oh, he's picked up a slowdown. He's having to give the time up and give the place up. It's heartbreak for Next Gen Pink, and it means that Yasuo Sabula will take the lead of this race back, but he will take it back 9 that right now he has got double podium finisher and race 1 winner Luciano Whitfoot right behind him, and Isaac Doble's there with them as well. So it's not as though this race lead is just going to fall into his hands and he can walk away from it. Far from it as they come through the old hairpin here, and well, Isaac Doble right on the back of this right now will be thinking to himself, okay, how do I gradually pick them off? Because he has got one of the lighter cars here. Sabula's got the lightest of the car of the 3, but as they come in towards turn number 7 again, well, right now they are absolutely glued nose to tail. There is nothing between these drivers as they roar their way up the rise in towards Coppice Bend. But coming up the hill in towards the right-hander, well, from them we look back to Lewis Delmont, who's battling with Conrad Kula a little bit further back. And, well, you have got the top 4 in the Prime class literally running nose to tail here as well, which wherever you look from 13th through to 16th, you've got Ben Tripp, Michael Lees, Conrad Kula and Lewis Delmont separated by only what is 1.2 seconds as they come on down. And, well, Ben Tripp right now I think wants to clear Tom Davidson, who seems to be costing him a little bit of time here, understandably, because the problem is he's come onto the back of the lead pack. And as they come down towards the next corner, down towards turn 1 again, well, here comes Lewis Delmont in the rear of your picture, going side by side with Kula down the start-finish straight. Michael Lees trying to go round the outside of, where's Ben Tria there? 2 wide they go into what is Redgate, 2 by 2. And, well, in the end, Ben Tria holds off Michael Lees. A bit of a tame move there from Lees, but Kula now tries to come round the outside to the inside of what will be Hollywood, now to the outside of Craner, and will gets the move there, does Conrad Kula, just absolutely carrying the momentum. And Michael Lees, I think, stumbling over a gear shift and not able to hold on to that second place. So Conrad Kula gains another place, and, well, now you'd imagine, and with the door open, he's going to be thinking, okay, it's my turn to now try and go for the lead of the Prime class. And Altria, in what is a relatively heavy 504 in that Hyundai Elantra, this is a prime opportunity for Kula, who's got less success ballast in the car, to potentially look for a move. Given the time that's running and given the fact they're both in equal machinery, this is going to come down to the driver and who can manage those tyres. But looking from them, looking back towards the front of the field, and the Amstel Sevilla still holding on. His eyes that Doble has got ahead out of what was Coppice Bend, ahead of Luciano Whitford, the Hyundai Veloster driver, now starting to find a bit more pace here, and I think really now starting to capitalise on the tyre life advantage he will naturally have with less success ballast in the car compared to Whitford. But the problem is Sabula in that Audi is looking absolutely steadfast as they head in towards turn 1, looking around the outside here. Meanwhile, Whitford comes all the way in on the brakes. The What a Racing driver there, he tries to squeeze the inside. It causes Isaac Doble to run a little bit wide, but lets him rejoin. Great respect shown between the two drivers there. Of course, they will get their elbows out, they will push each other a little bit, but they are allowed to make contact so long as they keep it relatively clean. Indeed, we've got touring car rules here as they make the way through the old hairpin. Right now, all these drivers in a long line, all running so close together. And again, it's the classic problem here, which is as soon as you go for a move in this pack, you are going to break up that pack, and you don't want to break it up wherever possible. But of course, at some point, if you want to make progress and gain some more points, you are going to have to look for a move. But whilst they are making progress, well, meanwhile, we have had what is Ben Tripp lose 2 places over the course of what has been 1 run. He's dropped down to what is 3rd place in the Prime class. He's on the back now of Michael Easton. Conrad Kula, for the first time this season, takes the lead of the Prime class. But how did that happen exactly? Here's the quick replay to explain. And this was lap 11. I get the feeling Altria is going to serve a slowdown here as they make their way down the start-finish straight. You'll see him hold where's the racing line, and there you go. And that is for track limits at what was the S's chicane. And that explains the story there for Ben Tripp. And we return now to your live pictures, ladies and gentlemen. And well, as we do, look at the Conrad Kula there, where he's carrying on as best he possibly can, but knowing that right now there's a lot of pressure to try and take a Prime race victory, as from them further back Lee Horn. Well, Horn here trying to give it a little bit of pursuit, but just in the foreground, Joseph Doble, where he's up the inside there, Stuart Winess, and takes the place off of Winess for 17th place, at least for a brief moment, if not forever. And well, with everything that's happened, many of you may be asking what exactly happened at the start of the race for what was Kieran Smart, and this was on lap number 2. There was a big shunt coming into what was the Craner curves, and here's the replay of that instant, ladies and gentlemen. And well, here's the explanation. It was side by side there between Kieran Smart and what looked to be, I believe, that, oh, good to be Duncan Moraes. They're coming on down, and both of them coming together, and Duncan Moraes making that contact, and that explains the story. Can we get the perspective from what was Duncan Moraes' car? Let's listen in. Making his way on down the hill. Oh, goodness me, he was turned. I believe he might have been turned by the Full Tilt Motorsport car that it subsequently turned him into a Kieran Smart's Track Scotland car. So Duncan Moraes really just a passenger in his car in a brief moment. But let's come back to your live pictures because we got plenty more to come. And as soon as we come away for a brief moment, it's all pandemonium that suddenly appears on our screen here. What on earth has happened there? Well, I don't quite know, but I can tell you it's Gavin Garner suddenly falling down. The whole field split in the run in towards turn number 1. And that is going to be 3 by 3 as they make the way through. It's practically race number 1 all over again. Once they come on down in towards the Crater curves via Hollywood. Right now, Conrad Kula's got Michael Lees for close company behind. And well, I believe Gavin Garner really at the heart of everything that's happened there. We'll try and get a replay of that when we can and what exactly caused all that. But it does mean that Jamie Doris, well, in fact, Doris drops a long way down the running order. He's dropped all the way down to what is 14th place. I think Dory's been caught up there as well as what is Gardner, but we will get you a bit of perspective on that when we can, ladies and gentlemen. But as they make the way on through right now, it has been a quick upset, and I think this might be the last replay we get of the day before we do then focus on the races. This was Gavin Gardner making his way into the corner, Jamie Dory just in front, and I think this is how it all started with a 37. So Dory in contact there with Adam Delmont, and well, then Gavin Gardner coming to the scene of the incident, and that explains it. So it was Dory and yes, it was Dory and Adam Delmont, I should say. The two of them coming together, and then all bringing it back together, and we thought it was Gavin Gardner at the heart of that incident, but it wasn't quite in the end. It was quite the opposite. But as our drivers then make the way onto lap number 14, we're coming from replays to staying in the permanent present now, all the way through to the future end of the race. Yao Sasabula leading, but only by 4 attempts over Isaac Doble, with Luciano Whitford and Andrew Pike completing that top 4. And, well, Wojciech Swierdajc, meanwhile, a further 1.2 seconds behind, but closing gradually on this pack as they make the way through at the first half of what will be 3 laps on the finish. But as they make the way on through it, looking back to William Guthrie, well, he's still on the attack, chasing after Mikey Doble. And Will Guthrie definitely having a race where points have escaped him today, but he's not letting the points escape him in this final race today. At least that's his target. But then again, chasing after what is your defending champion, it is easier said than done, and there's a reason why he's got that number 1 on the rear of the car as they head up into Coppice. And this is the fight for 6th place, knowing that Alex Meredith, Tom Davidson and Adam Delmont are all within 1.5 seconds behind here of the number 46 car, and all very eager to try and make a point, which is, if you can't find a way past Mikey Doble, we will try and find a way past you instead, as they power the way down the back straight here in towards the S's, but no way through for Guthrie at the moment. And well, this Honda, it's got the pace in the corners, but will it have the pace of the straights? Well, when Doble makes a mistake like that, it will. And well, it's going to be a drag race now down towards turn number 1, the penultimate lap. And well, it's going to be Guthrie looking around the outside into Redgate corner. Doble trying to give himself as much space as possible as he goes defensive. Too wide they go into the opener, and as they make the way through, well, Mikey Doble in the end tries to run Guthrie out as wide as possible, tries to curb his momentum and carry some more of his own. Through Hollywood they go. Too wide they make the way in towards what will be Craner, and then into Old Hairpin. Doble's there on the inside. Has he got enough space under braking and forced to move? He tries to, but has a huge sideways lock on the rear brakes there, and well, as a result loses the position. In the end, folds back in with Alex Meredith alongside, so they go 2 by 2 now up the hill. And well, this is going to call the whole field to bunch up as they make the way through. This isn't a fast formation up, I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen. They are racing as they make the way out of what is the bend up towards Coppice right now. Well, Mikey Doble there holds off Alex Meredith, but Meredith now in the clutch of Davidson and Delmont. In fact, Davidson and Delmont fighting each other. It's a pair of double Ds here as they roar the way around, and well, these two very familiar with battling each other from season 8, and as they make the way down towards what will be the S's, it's going to be side by side all the way for the Honda Civic drivers, all the way to that final lap. And behind, Conrad Kula and Michael Lease going side by side. Kula on the outside to inside here for the lead of the Prime class, trying to keep Lease at bay. Lease made to go to the grass there. He'll try to rejoin. White flag waves, and well, as they make the way across that timeline, well, Conrad Kula still there. They're still too wide as they head towards the braking zone. Meanwhile, Lewis Delmont looks one way, then the other. He can't find his way through. Michael Lease goes all in the brakes. Does he get it stopped in time? He does, but Kula's going to come back at him here, and as they switch back, Conrad Kula's going for the lead in the Prime class. No doubt about it, but Michael Lease right now, where's he coming down? Lewis Delmont, they're all going to spin, and Delmont coming in contact with Lease. Lease sent to the grass, and Lewis Delmont carries on his way, but not the way they wanted it to go. And whilst all that's happening, well, meanwhile, we look back to the front of the field, and well, Yavza Stabila has still got Isaac Doble right behind him, but Luciano Whitford and Andrew Pike are all queuing up behind as they make the way up the hill. Wojciech Swierdajc hasn't closed up enough here to really become a 5th player in this battle, but as they come on through Coppice and down that back stretch, then only 2 corners to go. One major braking zone and a drag race to a checker flag. Well, will we see 3 different winners in 3 races? Isaac Doble there flashing his lights, trying to get into the head of Stabila, trying to get him to make a mistake, but I don't think Stabila's going to do so. And make no mistake, ladies and gentlemen, it has been an absolutely flawless driving year for Stabila after that one mistake, but he returned to the top, and that's where he stays. He takes victory in race 3 of the day. Isaac Doble takes 2nd ahead of Luciano Whitford, with Andrew Pike 4th, Wojciech Swierdajc 5th, and then it will be William Guthrie in 6th ahead of Mikey Doble, with Alex Meredith, Adam Delmont and Gavin Garner completing your top 10. Tom Davidson 11th. Conrad Kula will come on home to take victory in the Prime class there. 12th place overall. Well done to him for his maiden victory on his debut round. And there'll be Jamie Dory. Lewis Delmont is your runner-up in the Prime class ahead of Ben Altria. And then it will be Jonathan Collins who takes AM victory. 21st overall ahead of Marcel Fritsch, who is your runner-up in the AM class. And 3rd place in the AM class goes to Mark Sykes, who's 26th and makes it a triplet of podiums here today, including 1 race win as well. Goodness me, what a way to wrap up the race it is. We've got a couple of drivers still making their way to the line, including Kieran Smart, who's just crossed the line outside my Conte with window, and this is Duncan Rise, just fended off Reese Watt to the timing line, and Sam Smith in the pit lane with repair work to the car after what was lap number 10. Well, ladies and gentlemen, what a race to wrap up proceedings in our season opener here for the Orange Lobby. And as we do see Yaroslav Sabila making his way on down the backstretch, I don't think he's going to quite believe it. I think he's going to be absolutely ecstatic to have taken that first win of the season for his campaign. And, well, the 180 driver, it has been an absolutely hard-fought victory at that. But as he makes his way into the pits, well, Isaac Doble and Luciano Whitfoot there, keeping him honest every step of the distance. And Conrad Kula, meanwhile, well, on his debut, to not just take a Pro-Am podium, but to take a Pro-Am victory, that will feel special at that, no doubt about it, especially when Lewis Dillman, Michael Lease and Ben Altrier were constantly chasing him. And Jonathan Collins, meanwhile, the Whiskey Runners with Next Gen Racing driver, returns to the top spec for the AM podium. And, well, it disappeared from him last year, his AM title charge in Season 8, but this season it seems as though everything is now starting to point in the right direction, or at least come the final race of Donington Park. As all drivers make the way into the pit lane, and commiserations to some other drivers who had a difficult race, such as Duncan Ray's and Reese Watt. Duncan Ray's, of course, involved in that huge moment coming on down through the Craner curves on was lap number 2. Well, let's take a look at those race results subject to any stewards' inquiries, and here they are. What a race it was, and here are those results as they appear on screen. So for race 3 of round 1 of season 9 of the NXTCC, powered by Doble Motorcycles in the Orange Lobby on iRacing, Yaroslav Sabila taking victory for Semper Racing by 3 tenths over Doble Sim Racing's Isaac Doble. World of Racing and STR Motorsports is Luciano Whitfoot, completing a run to the 3rd spot, and indeed 3 podiums in 3 races for the Dutchman. What a way to start off his campaign. That's what he'll want, and the number 60 driver will want plenty more of that at Brands Hatch Indy in a week's time. Andrew Pike finished 4th place for the Sim Racing Collective Esports, the Honda driver making his way up the order very quickly, and in the end taking a 4th place and making sure that that Honda is firmly inside the top 10 ahead of Wojciech Swierdajc, the Semper Racing driver there, who made some great progress to start this race, but in the end had to settle for 5th. William Guthrie took 6th for Full Tilt Motorsport ahead of Mikey Doble, with the Doble Sim Racing driver just being pipped to the post for 6th by Guthrie, but credit where it's due to William Guthrie and the fact he had to fight his way all the way from what was a bottom of top 20 start in race 1 to finish in 6th place in the final race of the day. We did then see at 7th place for Mikey Doble, followed up by 8th place Alex Meredith, the Whiskey Runners Racing with Next Gen driver, seemingly enjoying the run of what was the Hyundai Veloster ahead of Adam Delwant. The Next Gen Green driver 9 that instant between himself and Jamie Dory cost him some key places, but still just inside the top 10, and Gavin Garner for Next Gen Pink completing the top 10 overall. Tom Davidson was best of the rest 11th for the Sim Racing Collective Esports ahead of Conrad Kula, who took victory in the Pro-Am class with a 12th place overall for World of Racing and STR Motorsports. Congratulations to number 45 driver for his first victory of the season. Jamie Dory finished 13th place. He's had 2 13th place finishes today, and will the number 13 definitely staying with the Englishman for Next Gen Pink. Had a Next Gen Green's Lewis Delmont, who was your runner-up in the Pro-Am class, and then Full Tilt Motorsports Ben Altrier rounding off the Pro-Am podium there with 15th, and also taking the final overall point. Stuart Wynis, Alexander Paulik, Lee Horn, Joseph Doble and Benjamin Greggy completed your top 20. And outside the top 20, let's not forget about them, you did have your AM winner 21st there for Jonathan Collins for Next Gen Orange, who in the end picked his way through all the madness to finish just ahead of Marcel Fritsch, who was a further 1.5 seconds behind. Well, in fact, it was half a second behind there. Let's get our maths correct. And Marcel Fritsch today in the number 7, having a solid start to his season for Rhino Esports as he looks to defend his crown. Matthew Addy, Michael Lease and Nick Clemens completed your top 25, and behind the iRacing Esports driver was Mark Sykes, who completed the AM podium there for Next Gen Orange. He had Cal Murray for close company, but the Next Gen Green driver couldn't quite make a dent in his charge at the end of the day, and it was Russell Fowler, Alan McCain and Matthew Jordan for Next Gen Pink, who rounded off your top 30. Outside the top 30, 31st, it was Craig Tillerson for Rhino Esports, head of Kieran Smart, with Duncan Rise and Reese Watt completing the top 34. And then it was 7 laps down with the unfortunate retirement for Sam Smith for iRace Esports. So there were 35 starters, 34 finishers, and all of our finishers on the lead lap, ladies and gentlemen. So that concludes all of our racing here today at the Donington Park National Circuit. And what a trio of races we have had, no doubt about it. But of course, that's not quite all the end of the broadcast for today, because very shortly we're going to be stepping away, and well, we're stepping away in preparation for our post-round interviews with our volunteer drivers. drivers. So don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen, because if you'd like to hear the thoughts of some of our drivers who have raced on the grid today, stick around. Those interviews are coming up in approximately 10 minutes' time. We will see you very shortly. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, it's time for our post-round interviews. And unfortunately today, it seems that I think all of our drivers quite exhausted from all the racing that's unfolded. So I think we're only going to hear from one of our drivers today. And we're going to hear from the man who took victory in the final race of the day, but also 3 top 10s as well. None other than Yaroslav Sabila for Semper Racing. Let's get him in here and hear his story as he joins me now in the interview room. Yaroslav, what a way to return to NXTCC racing. You returned to Semper Racing for season 9, 3 top 10s today, a victory in race number 3. I mean, Donington Park certainly has rewarded you well. And well, if Yaroslav is talking right now, I don't know if his microphone is potentially on mute or working. Oh, here we go.
It is working now, yes. Hi, Paul. It's a great way to come back to another season of the NXTCC, and it looks like it's going to be a really, really tough season.
Oh, most definitely. It's going to be a tough season, like you say, and well, you found yourself right in the thick of the battling today. But before you got to the battling, I have to ask, how does it feel to be back with Semper Racing and back with your long-term teammate Wojciech Swierdajc? I mean, it must feel like home territory again.
Yeah, it feels pretty good. Yeah, we know each other for a long time, so yeah, it's like he's always a faster part of our team, so everything remains the same, you know.
Well, to be fair, whilst he may be the man who's catching the headlines with regards to the pace he's showing, you're not too far off. And talking about pace, qualifying, 7th on the grid, 6th in the pro class, a great qualifying session for yourself. But from your perspective, how was qualifying?
It was difficult. I actually thought that I am quick here, but that got kicked out of my head pretty quickly. So I realized that it is going to be tough. So P7 was actually it was better than I expected when I started practice in our session today. So it was tough, but finally it ended up all right.
Well, may have been a bit of a tough one, and like you say, really realising that whilst you thought you had a lot of pace, in the end, that pace not quite as strong as perhaps you thought. But at the same time, one thing to think about is the fact you're in an Audi, which pulls very quickly off the start-finish line, and in race 1, we got to see you have a brilliant start.
Yeah, but because I was starting, from the middle of the top 10 field, so I didn't really want to get into the battling, as much from the beginning, and then I got I went on the grass on lap 1 of race 1, so I lost a bit of time to the drivers in front. So it took me a few laps to catch them. Well, I only catched them because they were battling, so I haven't really got that much of a pace. And then we had a bit of a good battle between us, and yeah, that's the way it was.
Oh, most definitely. I mean, like you say, a bit of a good battle, some fantastic battling out there.
Actually, I think that you have a mistake here. I see the screen, but my race 1, I end up, I think, P6.
Yes, you're right, and it does appear as though that result has perhaps crept in erroneously. We will get that fixed in the quick time.
But don't need to fix it. If it's same thing in the timetables, then and the point tables, that's great.
I do think the results have slightly got themselves mixed up. We do apologise for that. We will get that fixed in the background there. I do believe it should be a 6th place, like you say, but we will get that fixed very quickly there. Although, like you say, the fact that it'd be ideal if that ends up in the points tables, but I've just had it confirmed to my ear. It was a 6th place for yourself after the race distance, so apologies for that. But still, a 6th place, some great points. And then in race number 2, even more fighting out there to come on through for what was in the end a 9th place.
The race number 2 was exactly what we like and why we are here, because it was battling all the time, pretty much like so many 2 wides, 3 wides, and overtaking somebody or defending from someone else. At the end, it was a little bit unlucky. I took a risk going too wide into the last chicane, but I catch the grass, and as we all know, that's not the most effective way to lose in speed. So I end up P9. But at the end of the day, it was actually I think it was actually good to end up on P9, because then I had a start from the first row on the race 3.
Oh, and speaking of what was raced, all the brilliant batting, how it gave you the opportunity to start on the front row for race 3. I mean, race number 3, you're starting alongside ex-teammate and someone you know very well, Jamie Dorey. And something tells me your goal was to simply just get ahead and run away with it. And you had a brilliant launch at the start.
Yeah. I managed to use the Audi launch control, we can say, very good, and I managed to overtake Jamie to the first corner. And then the plan was actually simple, just trying to run away and don't let the very, very fast guys to catch myself, and ideally Jamie as well. But then it all went wrong when I picked up a slowdown, because I turned to the left too early on the approach to T1, and there is a slowdown there for crossing the pit lane exit. So then I had to lose a bit of time, and I had to let Jamie go as well. And then it all became so difficult. Suddenly, I think Jamie had the slowdown as well, but then very quickly I realized that I had Luciano behind me and Isaac and all the fast guys that are faster than me, actually. So it was so difficult to defend, but at the end I managed to do it somehow, so very happy with that.
Oh, indeed, it was a superb defensive drive from yourself to hold on to take your first victory of the season, as we do look at some of the pictures you fighting hard at with Jamie, particularly into Redgate Corner. And coming into this season, you've gone with the Audi RS3, a car that you're quite familiar with. Have you chosen the Audi just because you know it so well, or is it one of those situations where you've tested other cars and thought they're just not the right fit?
Yeah, I chose it mostly because of its straight line speed, and I believe it's quite important in this league, because everybody is so close to each other that that straight line speed can help if you are in the traffic. And it was something else, I drove Honda for a couple of months, so I decided to go back to Audi for this season.
I see. Well, the Audi definitely seems to be rewarding you well, and with round 1 complete, a good set of points on the board, a great start to your season, and there's plenty more to come, including round number 2 in a week's time at the Brands Hatch Indy Circuit. How are you feeling for that?
Yeah, looking forward to it. It's going to be, well, I guess it's going to be even more difficult, because the circuit is shorter and everybody is so close up in terms of speed. So there's like I don't know, maybe 10-15 of us that are only separated by really couple of tenths of a second per lap. So yeah, going to be difficult, especially to have a good result in quali. It's going to be difficult, because if you will be 2 tenths off the pace, then that will probably mean 15 positions back on the field, so on the grid.
Well, like we predict, like you say as well, what you predicted there, it's going to be very close there, and we look forward to seeing how you rise that challenge of needing to be absolutely on prime pace to try and take pole and even take victory. But just before we do let you go, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to live on the broadcast this evening?
Yes, as always, you guys for organizing this league. It's season 9, and I think it's my 3rd season in this league. So, and actually, it looks like that probably is going to be the best one, I think. So, to keep in the league and keeping it growing, and attracting really great drivers, it's a great success. So yeah, that's what I would like to thank you guys for doing this for so long time, and also for Wojciech and my whole team, for Semper Racing. We hope we will be enjoying the rest of the season.
Well, Yaroslav, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you join me in the interview room. It always is. And congratulations once again on your fantastic performances to start off your season. And, well, thank you to you and the team as well from Semper Racing for being back on the grid and being regulars. But with that, we're going to have to leave it there. We'll see you in a week's time at Brands Hatch. But until then, have a great rest of your evening. And, well, upwards and onwards to the next round.
See you guys. Bye.
So hearing there from our race 3 winner overall in the Pro Class, Yaroslav Sabula, and also a triple top 10 finisher today. Albeit, we did have the error there saying he finished second in what was race number 1, and we have corrected that to 6th place there, just a small technical hitch, but of course, you can have technical hitches every so often. But besides the point, let's talk about the man and one of the heroes of today. Really talking about the fact that Finas had a lot of pace coming into Donington Park, but that reality very quickly coming back when he saw how close it was in qualifying, but still, to take a top 10, 7th on the grid in qualifying, and that's no mean feat when how close this field is. And mentioning there about the fact that he has run the Honda in the last couple of seasons, but going to the Audi because it's straight line speed, and feeling as though you need that straight line speed to stay one step ahead of the battling field when everybody is so close. Well, that investment definitely showed itself and its strengths come at what was race number 3, and the fact that after Jamie Doré fell behind, well, it was Yaroslav who was able to start to break away and, well, just able to keep the field behind him all the way to that checker flag. And he's looking forward to Brands Hatch Indy Circuit in a week's time, but he reckons that given how short the circuit is and how close it normally is in terms of qualifying, and that just one small mistake could be the difference between you being right at the front of the field and you being at the very back of the field. And, well, I definitely agree with him, ladies and gentlemen. If Parsholm's got anything to say, I think going to be in the top 10 at Brands Hatch is literally going to be separated by hundredths, not tenths, if not thousandths. But that concludes our interview with our pro driver there, and it does, unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, conclude all of our interviews for today because we've only had one driver available. But then again, I get the feeling that all of our drivers will be packing up their cars and getting ready for round number 2 and already starting to make their way there. But a big thank you to our number 180 driver of Yaroslav Sabula for Semper Racing in the Pro Class for joining me for a post-round interview. And we'll hopefully hear from more of our drivers as we do go deeper into the season. But with that, we're not going to go through provisional points after the opening round because all the point systems are being finalised at the moment, but we will give you an update at the start of each and every broadcast as to how the championship points are playing out. So it does mean, for the time being, it is time for us to wrap up. And, well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching. And if you have enjoyed today's show, and perhaps you're sat there right now wanting to know more about the Next Gen racing community in terms of what we do behind the scenes and everything in between, well, for all that, of course, you can go to our official website. That's at nextgenracing.co.uk. And, well, there you'll be able to find all the latest information in regards to our ongoing and upcoming series, as our website does appear on screen there. And, well, the home of clean and fair sim racing for all. There's never been a better time to be on the grid at Next Gen Racing as we charge deeper and deeper into 2025, where it be the NXTCC, our GT3 Championship, or indeed other series upcoming, including our Legends series, which is being revived in a couple of weeks' time. But if you don't want to go to our website, or you don't want to join our official Discord, link available on screen there on our website, well, of course, you can follow us on social media, and the best place to do so is via our official Facebook group. And that's at facebook.com/groups/NextGen Racing, where there you can get in touch with all the guys and girls behind the scenes that make up Next Gen Racing and find out what we do, not just on the virtual circuit, but on the real life circuit, where a good number of our staff members being not just what is sim racers, but also real life racing drivers or real life marshals and stewards. But with that, we'd like to take a moment to say a big thank you to our sponsors, who do include PowerMaxed, Next Level Racing, Mark Sykes Designs, Joyce Design, Douglas Motorsport, Sam Cases UK, Only Racing, Falconer PC Builds and Support, Benji Sim Photos, and of course a special mention to our title sponsor for this season and our returning partnership with Doble Motorcycles. And, well, ladies and gentlemen, the truth be told is that if you're looking to buy your next two-wheeled machine or ATV, why not consider Doble Motorcycles, the ultimate machine that is powered by the power of dreams. Home to an expansive range of Honda motorcycles, scooters, off-road bikes and ATVs, Doble Motorcycles is the UK's leading Honda motorcycle dealer. However, don't just take our word for it in the fact that having won numerous awards over the years and priding itself on what is a family-run business that puts customer service first and foremost, where it definitely shows. And well, given the family's rich racing history through 3 generations is currently embodied by Mikey Doble Racing, you're going to receive excellent customer service from lights out to checker flag. So if you'd like to know more, do check out their website, and that is doble.co.uk today. That website again, doble.co.uk. But now, ladies and gentlemen, attention turns to a week's time, because in round number 2 of the championship, we'll be making our way to the Brands Hatch Indy Circuit. It will be our one and only visit to the Brands Hatch Indy Circuit, but we've got 2 visits to Brands Hatch as a whole, with the Grand Prix Circuit being the crowning jewel right at the end of the season. But for its short layout, we'll be heading there as of Tuesday, the 6th of May, to pick up the story from today. And well, in round 2, it's going to be tight, it's going to be close, track position is going to be absolutely pivotal, but who will carry the momentum forward at Brands Hatch? Because so far in the overall championship, it looks like it's Luciano Whitford who has taken the initial lead based on results today, with 3 podiums out of 3, including a race win. In the Pro-Am class, it seems though it's anybody's guess who's going to be leading after this round, and indeed going into the next round. And in the Am class, well, Mark Sykes has definitely scored big today, but we have seen a number of his rivals, including newcomer Matthew Jordan, also put down a key marker. Well, to find out how it all continues, tune in a week's time. But until then, at least for the Orange Lobby, we have been Next Gen Racing. I've been your host and commentator, Paul TX141 Walsh, also known as Britain Spit, depending on what media you follow me on. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, remember to stay safe, stay well, stay smiling, and most importantly, as always, remember to stay on track. Good night. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time, that's all from us here at Next Gen Racing, the home of clean and fair sim racing for all.